Hi, good morning, all of you. And I would like to welcome you all towards this session of exam prep of MB-230, talking about Microsoft Dynamics 365 customer service. So, in this specific session, we are going to discuss about a kind of a thing that what important topics we need to cover up before going towards this exam of MB-230, and also we're going to have a look about the type of questions can be expected inside the examinations, and also a level of questions that can be expected. So let's get started in here. So apart from this 230 exam prep sessions, if you guys ever wanted to go ahead and register yourselves for some upcoming webinars which we have planned in the future itself regarding some exam prep sessions of different courses, so you guys can actually scan this QR code and go ahead and register yourself for those sessions. And those all the sessions are going to be on a free of cost. You can go ahead and join them depending upon your interest of area. Also, you can visit our website here, https://gtechlearn.com/webinar.aspx. Over to this website, you can find out the relative information about our upcoming webinars also. So that is all the things we are having. Let's get at and start this session now. Before starting with the session, just let you know guys about some certification journey that if you guys wanted to get certified in this Dynamics 365 customer service exam, that is MB-230. So what specific path do you guys need to go ahead and select for getting that certificate on your wallet? So the prerequisite for working with this MB-230 course is always going to be that the person who wants to intake this examination may have some fundamentals knowledge about the Dynamics 365 CRM. So over there, they're going to have a look about the fundamentals information about what kind of different Dynamics applications the Microsoft is providing, what is the use case of the multiple applications itself, what kind of features are available in there, and lots of other things. So you guys need to have some basic understanding about all those things, because in the questions sometimes it may be ask you the kind of a questions relatively for the integrations with the other applications also. So if you guys ever have the fundamentals knowledge of them, then it's going to be a great way of answering those questions depending upon the questions that has been asked. Also, you guys need to have some basic information about the Power Platform fundamentals area, so that if sometimes you wanted to make your own application into a different way, do you want it to look like in a different manner, or you wanted to add a table or remove the table from the existing apps, depending upon the business requirement. So you guys will have that basic knowledge available on your side. So these are some specific informations that are present that needs to be learned before going towards this examination of MB-230. So this is some prerequisite. Once we have completed the prerequisite criteria, then we need to go ahead and get some trainings relatively for this course called MB-230. And there are two different ways to getting the training to be available. The very first is you guys can go ahead and purchase some self-paced courses online on the Microsoft Learn. Over to this one going to be a totally free course. You will get a link. On that link you will be able to get all the modules related informations on a module wise as well as on the topics wise. You will get the full docs available, you will get the lab content available, you will get the exercises available, you will also get the check your knowledge sessions available onto that area, so that to get better understanding about your own environment and so on. So you can visit this Microsoft Learn website to get yourself a self-paced course. The thing is, over to that, you need to learn each and everything from those docs itself on your own, and you do need to make a lot of practice. Other than that, the second way of attending the training for MB-230 is going to be an instructor-led training that can be booked from the Microsoft Learn page as well. So over there, you will get a course to be assigned with the instructor itself, where an instructor will going to guide you about the whole application itself. Once we are actually working with this area, so you guys need to go ahead and get yourself a course to be purchased, whether it's going to be your Microsoft Learn self-paced course on a free basis, or you guys are going with the instructor led paid course, that totally going to be depend on your choice. While completing this course, what kind of a specific hands-on experience you guys are going to have it? So you guys are going to have it a kind of a different sets of experience working with this application here. The very first is going to be configuring some customer service application, over to which you guys are going to have a look about that how can we actually go and configure this customer service app into our environment, into a business environment for working with the customer service. You will get to know about some hands-on experience against this manage cases and queues area, where you will be able to manage the case, manage the queue, and also to start working with them. You will get to know about some basic information about creating and managing the knowledge articles. You will get the hands-on experience about working with entitlements and the SLA concept. You will guys will going to have a specific understanding about creating and managing the customer survey using the Microsoft Voice portal. You will be able to get some understanding about the service scheduling and also about creating the resources for completing this service scheduling. Also, you will get some understanding about the managing of customer insights scenario. So these are some basic hands-on experience which you will got after attaining the training of this MB-230, whether it's your self-paced or whether it's your instructor. In both areas, you will get that much of understanding on your side. Also, you will get the understanding of working with the omni-channel scenario. You will get the understanding of creating the chatbots, working with the Power Platform, and lots of other things. Once you guys have completed the specific training relatively for MB-230, whether it's your self-paced or a Microsoft learn or maybe instructor led, then you can approach for the examination here. But before that, you need to actually complete the labs of this MB-230 approximately twice or thrice. And also you need to understand all the topics on a very clear note by learning the things by the instructor or by the different docs links or the different resource providers area. Then after, you will also get some self-study resources if you guys are opting for this self-paced course. So over there, the Microsoft will going to give you the hands-on labs that can be found over to your GitHub resource. So you need to go ahead and write down a specific word on your Google called MB-230 GitHub, and then you will find a link to which will going to redirect you to the GitHub area, to the GitHub repository, where you will find the all exercises relatively for this MB-230 over there. So following these steps, you can actually approach for completing your scenarios, also to work with your specific things and so on. After that, you will also get the Microsoft Docs, whether you are getting the self-paced course or you're getting the instructor led. In both areas, the instructor will also going to provide you some additional links to learn on. And also in the self-paced courses, you guys are going to have the whole books available. Also, the Microsoft is providing us some official practice test papers, which you can find out on the Microsoft Learn once you are opting for the self-paced online courses. So you can actually approach this and get yourself a proper training to attend the course itself, to attend the examination. Once everything is done, you can approach for the exam paper. And after that, once you will clear your examination, you will get certified under a criteria called Dynamics 365 customer service area itself. Moving forward to that, if I'll talk about the objective domains that will going to be covered up under this course called MB-230. So over there, you guys are going to have a kind of objective domains available. First of all, it is managing the case and knowledge management. So from this criteria, you will find out approximately 30% of questions on your examination. Then talking about managing the entitlements and the SLAs, from this domain, you will get approximately 10% of questions. From another domain called implementing the scheduling, you will get 10% of questions over there. Then talking about implementing the multi-session experience for customer service, you will get approximately 25% of questions from that area. Then after, if I'll talk about managing the analytics and insights, you will get 15% of questions over there. from a different domain called implementing the Microsoft Power Platform scenarios in the customer service, you will get approximately of 10% of questions from this domain. And then after talking about implementing the connected customer service, you will find out approximately of 5 to 10% of questions over there. And also talking about implementing the routing from this area, you will get approximately of 10% of questions over there. So this is a specific thing which we are having. So these are going to be the different domains that will going to be covered up in under this session called MB-230, which you guys need to learn, and accordingly we'll know that how much of questions can be expected from which of the domain here. Moving forward to that, if I'll talk about the examination area, so the exam will going to be appear with you with 120 minutes. Apart from this, you will get overall 150 minutes out of the 30 minutes, which is going to be available to you just to go ahead and put up your environment, to set up your environment with answering some basic questions at the starting and also to sending some feedback at the end. So for them, they will going to give you a 30 minutes of additional time. Apart from that, 120 minutes is totally going to be associated with your exam time itself. Inside the examination, you will going to receive approximately 40 to 60 questions in the exam. Out of those, maybe it's your 42 questions, it may be 48 questions. That always going to be depend. The scenarios are going to be changed, but the minimum will required is a 40 question and the maximum you can get is just 60 question. You will need to answer 700 out of the 1000. That means the total paper is going to be available to you for 1000 numbers, out of which you need to score more than 700 to pass out. One more thing, whenever you are going for the examination, try to answer each and every questions over there. Also on the right hand top corner, you will see that kind of clock which is going to be running on a decreasing for motive. You will get the information over there that your exams, your timing is running out and how much time currently is left for the examination itself. So you will get the informations accordingly. On the left hand top side, you will get this information over there, which is going to confirm you that under this segment, how many questions you are having currently, and out of those questions, on which question you are away right now to answering them. So you can get the informations from here. Apart from them, if I'll talk about, so what kind of questions can we expected in the examination? So the very first thing is that we can expect the questions depending upon the case studies also. So the exam will going to give you a case study. You will need to read out the case study, and based on that case study, they will going to give you 4 to 5 questions approximately over there to answer them. And maybe in the examination, you will find a single case study, but sometimes you can expect 2 case studies over there. And for each case study, they will going to give you the 4 to 5 questions to answer it. This is going to be your first section of exam. In the second section of examinations, what Microsoft will do, Microsoft will going to provide you the problem. Under that problem, they are going to provide you the solution also. You just need to make sure whether the solution which is written with the problem, is it a correct solution to achieve the goal or is it a wrong solutions? So they will going to give you that kind of questions in the second section, and for them they will going to give you approximately 6 to 7 questions out of them. Out of them, maybe 2 problem or 3 problems are going to be covered, and for each problem they will give you a 2 or 3 different solutions for it. The thing is that in that section, that if you will ever answer any of the single questions out of them, you will never have the ability to change the answer after that. So if you have answered the first question as correct and now you wanted to change it later on, so that cannot be possible in that section, because they are going to provide you the same problem with the different solutions in the different questions. So you need to make sure that you are answering the things on a very careful note after reading each and every aspects and after understanding whether this solution is meeting up the criteria which is required or not. So this kind of questions will going to become in the second section. The third section of the examination will going to cover up all the rest of the questions. Out of them, sometimes you will receive a kind of a questions for matching strategies, where on the left hand side they're going to provide you the answers, on the right hand side they're going to provide you the options to select which answer is best. So you need to drag and drop. Maybe sometimes not only the dragging drop the option is going to be available, but sometimes you need to match and follow the things. Same way, they're going sometimes in the questions they will going to define you the steps on the left hand side, and in the right hand side you need to arrange those steps to be in the correct form of order to achieving a kind of a goal, and what goal needs to be achieved is going to be written in the exam in the question itself. So that kind of questions can also be expected. Sometimes they're going to provide you the multiple choice of questions answers, where they will going to provide you the questions, and then from the answers you need to select two correct answers, you need to select three correct answers, and so on, and accordingly they're going to give you the specific numbers based on each and every answer. Also, apart from this criteria, you will get some questions where you need to select only one answer, which is going to be the correct one. So these kind of questions will going to be come up in the side your examination area under this exam called MB-230. So let's get started now. This time we are going to talk about the MB-230 section. So before starting the official session of this MB-230, let's just have a quick introduction between ourselves. So let me start introducing myself in here. So my name is Shivam Shukla, and I'm going to welcome you all again towards this exam session of MB-230 Dynamics 365 Customer Service. My name is Shivam Shukla. I'm working as a Microsoft certified trainer or solution architect with GTechLearn Private Limited right away. Overall, I have 10 plus years of experience in the IT industry. Initially, I started my career as a business analyst, working with a technology called a Microsoft Excel on a Indian-based company over there. Over to which my work is to provide some reporting things towards my managers and so on. Slowly and gradually, I upgraded myself and learned about the different technologies of the Microsoft domains here. And right away, I can say that I'm very well versed with the different technologies like Microsoft Project Server, Microsoft Office 365, Microsoft Azure Services, Security Services, Dynamics Platform, Microsoft Power Platform area, and lots of other domains itself, talking about the data platform also. And also, I'm currently working towards the AI technologies of the Microsoft itself, toward the machine learning programming, working with the different tools. So apart from that, if I'll talk about my timing, so my 60% of my time goes for the training industry, where I'm providing the training to the different companies itself. And apart from the 60% of time, the rest of the 40% is going towards us providing the consulting to the existing company what we are having in the GTech itself, and also to getting some new upcoming projects. So that is something about myself in a brief way regarding my technical exposure. Apart from that, if I'll talk about my certifications, so I'm currently holding 15 plus certifications in the different domains, where I'm having the certification over to my Azure services, as well as towards my security platform, as well as my Power Platform area, as well as my Dynamics area, as well as my data platform. So that is something about myself in here. Now let's get started this session here. So let's discuss about our first domain, sorry, talking about managing the cases and knowledge management, out of which you can expect approximately of 30% of questions from it. So in this one, we're going to discuss about creating and managing the cases. We're going to discuss about defining some foundational customer service components, talking about creating and administering the knowledge management, and also to capturing some customer feedback by using the customer voice survey. So these are the topics which we are going to cover under this module in here. So if I'll talk about some customer service core component, so under the core component, we'll know that in the Dynamics, everything is going to be stored in a kind of a table structure itself. So what kind of different kind of records that are going to be available in the Dynamics that will help us to understand the thing, to modify the things and so on. So the very first type of record which is going to be available into my environment is going to be known as the customer record, where we are going to have two different entities to be available under the customer type of record. The very first is going to be known as the account entity, And the second one is going to be known as the contact entity. So in the account entity, we need to store those customers record who are representing themselves as an organization. Just like for example, like GTechLearn. What is a GTechLearn? So it's an organization based on the US itself. So, and GTechLearn has its own different branches in the different locality, in the different geographical location. So because a GTechLearn is an organization, so if I wanted to create a record of the GTechLearn in my company, so I need to go ahead and create a record of the GTech in the account entity. Same way, from the GTech itself, like I'm saying that my name is Shivam. So if you are creating the record from the Shivam who is representing the organization called GTech, so the Shivam Shukla's record needs to be created under the contact entity. Same way, if I'm having another employee who is working with the same organization, needs to be create a record in the contact entity also. And over there, while creating the contact, we need to associate against which account this specific contact is going to be created. So there are going to be the two different specific tables that needs to be utilized for creating the customer record. Apart from it, if I'll talk about, so if a person who is working on your side and dealing with yourself on an individual note, so if you have a customer who is dealing on an individual note or who is purchasing the products with us on an individual note, so those kind of details can also be captured under the contact entity. However, while creating their contact on the account section, we didn't have to define anything because they are working as on an individual basis. So these kind of records needs to be created in a different entity. Then after, we're going to have a different type of entity available called a case entity. So which kind of records it's going to be associated in the case entity? So fundamental record type of customer service that will going to represent a kind of a single incident or a service request. So if you ever wanted to create a record where you need to represent a kind of a incident happened at a customer's locations, or maybe the customers is asking us to create an incident report against their product they bought from us. So over there, you need to utilize this case entity to create a kind of a case here. Then after, we're going to have an activity type of record available, which will allow me to capture those details which we have done with the customer relatively for the all types of interactions, whether it's going to be the phone call interaction, whether it's going to be the email ID interactions, whether it's going to be the chat interactions, it's going to be the website experience interactions, or it's a kind of a scheduled visit interactions, or maybe something like that, or maybe appointment booking with the customer. So every type of interaction we are doing with the customer, those information needs to be stored in this activity record here. Then after, we're going to have an entitlement type of record available. So in the entitlement, we're going to make sure that whatever the amount of support we have promised to the customer, are we fulfilling that specific promise? And relatively for that, if I wanted to create a record where I can actually have a track record available for it, that the number of cases I have offered to the customer on a free note, or maybe the number of hours of services we are providing to the customer on a free service. So are we meeting that criteria? And out of the free service we are providing, how much time we have already covered up till now? So if you wanted to have a kind of record for maintaining those things, we need to go and work with the entitlement type of record over there. Then we're going to have a service level agreement available. So it's going to give me the option to store those informations, the kind of a agreement we have done with the customer, the level of agreement. Like I say that I've completed an agreement with one of my customer called Contoso, where I'm saying that if Contoso will going to get the new batch to be associated with the GTech, that means they wanted a trainer from the GTech to provide a training to their own employees. So over there, we are offering that if you are opting as the training for MB-230, we're going to cover all the things of MB-230 within next 4 working days towards your employees. So that is a commitment from the GTech itself. So that is going to be known as a service level agreement that we are offering, that we are going to complete this service within 4 days. So whatever the 4 days I have defined, so that is for the completing of service. So we're going to have a look that once the Contoso is going to be opt us a service, called training delivery, and over there we are delivering the training to their employees. And if we have covered the things within 4 days, that means we have completed our SLA, whatever the promised we have done with the customer. And also, if I am not able to complete that training within 4 days, and if we have taken the fifth day also to provide the training, so that means we haven't completed a SLA thing in here. So whenever you wanted to have a track record about those kind of info terms and informations, you can go for opting this service level agreement here. The next one is going to be known as the knowledge base. So what is a knowledge base? Knowledge base is going to be a kind of a repository articles that will help to resolve the different cases by working with the different knowledge articles into the different platforms. So over there, whenever a CSR team will get a query from the customer side, they will going to answer the query based on the article associated on my knowledge management. So they can find the relative articles using some keywords and so on, and they can start following that article, whatever the process has been written, and accordingly they can actually resolve the cases in a very good note. Moving forward to that, if I'll talk about, so we have another type of record available, that is a queue record. So what is a queue record? So it's going to be a way to manage the workloads for the cases and the activities. So every time I'm saying that we are creating the multiple cases, again, multiple queries of the customers from a different one, and I wanted to associate a different level of queue, which will going to attain the cases of my different level of customer. Like I'm having the gold customer, platinum customer, silver customer, platinum, and the diamond customer. And accordingly, whatever the cases are coming from the different kind of customers, I wanted to divert it to the different types of teams who is going to attain their queries. So accordingly, what we can do is we can first of all create the segment of the customer, and same way we can associate the multiple teams who is going to attain which kind of segments customers query. And accordingly, we can create a queue between them, and using the queue functionality, I can decide which case needs to be diverted to which specific queue itself. So we can easily decide that if a customer's segment is a gold, then I would wanted to divert that specific query towards my respective gold queue section against this case. So that is how we can start working with the queue section. We can manage the workloads and so on. Same way, talking about the assets. So what is going to be the assets? Assets means it's going to represent the items at a customer location that service is provided. So let's suppose I'm saying that we have offered the multiple types of services to the customer, and accordingly to the customer's physical locations, we have implanted some IoT devices that will going to help us to actually take a coverage of a full building, the entire building relatively for a multiple sections. Like I wanted to measure their heat temperature, I wanted to measure their cooling temperatures and so on. And accordingly, I do wanted to generate some reports also. So that can be possible. So using those IoT devices, we can generate the reports if the thresholds is going to be met. And those ones are going to be associated under this assets table. So under the assets table, we're going to have a full information about which IoT device has been installed to customers which physical location. So both options are going to be available. The very first is the asset, under which the IoT thing is going to be present, and the second one is a functional location where I can associate under this functional location this asset is working. Then after, we're going to have a service type of record available. So in the service types of record, we can associate what kind of services are we offering. So whatever types of services are we offering, we can go for providing that kind of services to be available to the customer, and we can provide their records in this service table, in this service record. So that is how the different types of entities we are going to have, or different types of records that are going to be present in the MB-230, that means customer service area. Moving forward to that, if I'll talk about the case creation. So let's suppose that you guys wanted to go ahead and wanted to create some cases on your side relatively for a different ways. So every time do you wanted to create a new case in your environment, so there are going to be a multiple ways to create a case. The very first is you can actually go for creating a case using the manual process. The second one is you can create it using the automated process. So both process can be available. On a manual note, user can visit the customer service app. They can click on the case entity, they can go for new button and start creating the case on their own. The second one is the automation rule. So whatever the automation rule I have defined, accordingly the cases are going to be created. Now let's talk about again what different kind of activities we can create the case. So here are some lists available. So again, what kind of activity the cases can be created? So cases can be created against the appointment we are having, against the campaign response we are receiving, against the email we are receiving, against the fax we are receiving, against the letter we are receiving on our post box, against the phone call we are receiving on a CSR area, against the service activity that needs to be scheduled on a permanent basis, and also against to complete a task with the customer. So in against these kind of different activities, we can start creating the cases into our customer service environment area and itself. Moving forward to that, if I'll talk about the automatic case creation. So how can a specific case can be created inside your environment? So let's have a look about the same here. So whenever we are saying that we are going to create an automatic case, so relatively for that, we know we need to create a specific rule first. Once we are having the rule available, accordingly only the case can be created. So what kind of engagement channel we can utilize? Engagement channel means what kind of different ways we are providing to the customer to connect with us, to connect with our CSR team and our support ticket, it's to our support team itself. So right away in this example, we are taking these much of different ways to connecting with us. The very first is going to be the email way, then the Twitter way, then the mobile way, then our website area, and then with the Facebook channel. So these are some different engagement channels we are having. Customers can actually expect any of these engagement channels to connect with them. So for an example, I'm saying that customer has actually called us using the phone. So once they have called us, accordingly, I can create a phone call activity, and based on that phone call activity, first of all, we need to create activity here. If it's a phone call activity, we need to create it on our own. And maybe if we have created some rules, so the activity is automatically going to be created once we'll answer the call. Same way, maybe let's suppose that the customer is sending me the email. So at the time of sending the email, a new activity is going to be generated on that customer's record. That customer has sent us the email. And once the activity created in my dynamics area, then it's going to verify the rules and regulations I have created. Depending upon the different kind of rules I have created for the automatic creation of a case, it's going to verify that if the email is coming and if the email is an high priority, so what is the subject of the email and what kind of case I need to create. So accordingly, it is going to start creating some sort of Dynamics 365 entries in here, and it's going to be a different kind of entries. The very first kind of entry could be a case. Then it's going to take the records from the different entities itself. Like it's going to check out which customer has sent us the mail. So while creating the case on the customer's area, it's going to provide the information of that customer, and the information is going to be taken from the contact or a account entity. Same way, which product? So the product information is going to be taken by the product entity. Same way, what kind of service they want to get it. So it's going to be appear from the service entity. So accordingly, we're going to have a full case creation available. A case is going to be created by taking the details from the different kind of entities we are having. So that is something how the automatic case is going to be created. Moving forward to that, if I'll talk about, so what kind of different tools are going to be available here to resolve our cases? So I will say that if first we have created a case, whether it's created it manually or maybe it's based on the automation way using any of the engagement channel, sorry, how can we start creating the case and how many tools we are having? So we are having a multiple tools to resolve the case. The very first tool is going to be known as the business process flow. In the short form, we can also call it as a BPF. That is a business process flow, where we are going to have a different stages available. Under the different stages, there are going to be the different steps that needs to be followed to resolve the specific case in here, and accordingly the thing is going to be done. So here, let's say that first stage I'm having, it's a identify stage where we are going to identify about the case issue, about the customer needs to talk with, about the product needs to work with, about the type of a problem they are getting, the customer, whatever problem they are getting, and lots of other things. So we are going to identify which problem it is. After getting the problem identified, we are going to research the solution for it. So in the research area, we are going to check which service needs to be scheduled, which user needs to be worked upon, what process need to follow to resolve it using some knowledge articles and other informations. Once we have find out the solution, so we're going to provide a solution to the customer after completing the research, and then we're going to resolve the case in our own manner. So this is our first process that can be present in my case entity. The second tool is a timeline area. So in the timeline area, we are going to identify what kind of interaction we have done with the customer till now and what interaction needs to be done in a later on module using some knowledge article scenarios. So using the timeline section, we can create that kind of activities here, whether it's your scheduling activity, whether it's your email activity, it's your phone call activity, or it must be any kind of different activity we are creating. The third one is going to be known as this productivity tool. So in the productivity tool, there are going to be the three options to resolve our case. Very first is a smart assist that will going to use the AI section to find out some similar cases from the past history of the data record and also some relative articles for it. So smart assist will going to find out these things on a quick note on their own using the AI bot technology. The second option we're going to have in the list is a knowledge article. In the knowledge article, you can easily go and search the knowledge article depending upon the situations you are in, like what kind of problem it is. You can write down the relative keywords for that problem, and accordingly the knowledge articles will going to be appear. You can read out the article, follow the process written in it, and accordingly you can resolve the query itself. The third one is going to be available as a agent script. So if the problem has been raised using some IoT alerts, like getting the telemetry data, and over there we have reached out the threshold limit, and we have called to the customer, and customer is saying everything is fine here, you just need to reset the IoT device and so on. So in that scenario, using that agent script, we can actually send a script back towards the IoT section using my different services of Azure IoT Hub and Azure IoT Central, and then you can actually resolve the queries and solve the specific case on your own. So this is going to be the third option that can be utilized. So these are some different tools that are going to be available in each and every case entity, each and every case area that can be utilized to resolve your queries here. So that is something we are having in the very first section here. Now we're going to have a next section where we are going to have some basic questions against this kind of section here, that against this kind of sections, what kind of questions can be come up on our side. So we're going to have a look about the same. And for each and every section, each and every question, sorry, I'm going to give you guys a 30 seconds of time to resolve, to provide your answers in the chat. So let's start with the first question now. The first question is present here, which is talking about what is a maximum number of child cases that can be associated with a parent case using the out of the box functionality. So in the Dynamics 365 customer service, there is a functionality that under a parent case, there can be multiple cases can be associated in it as a child cases. So what is the limit of it? Either we can add 10 child cases, either we can add 100 child cases, either we can add 500 child cases, either we can add 1000 child cases, or unlimited child cases. So let's get your answers on the chat box, and let me start the timer now. Okay, so time's up, and thanks guys for providing the answers here. So the correct answer for that question is going to be option B. We can associate 100 child cases over to a single parent cases in this dynamics area here. The next question we are having in the line is, if you want to create a case record in the Dynamics 365, which of the following record types cannot be converted into a case record? Whether converting an email into a case is not possible, converting a custom activity into a case not possible, converting a lead into a case, not possible, or converting a social activity towards a case, not possible. So let's get your answers on the chat box and let me start the timer now. Okay, so the time's up now, and thanks guys for providing the answer in the chat. So the correct answer for that question is going to be option C, converting a lead into a case. So a lead cannot be converted into a case until it is not an opportunity. So once the lead will going to be converted to an opportunity, only then the case can be created regardingly for delivery experience and so on. The next question we are having in line is, which of the following items is not a valid case status in the Dynamics 365? Is it option A, on hold? Is it option B, active? Is it option C, resolved? Or is it option D, cancelled? So let's get your answers on the chat box and let me start the timer now. Okay, so the correct answer for that question is going to be option A, on hold. So the on hold status is not going to be available into the specific customer service application area itself. So moving forward to that, if I'll talk about, so we are having a next session now in the class where we are going to have a look about working with the entitlements and the SLAs area. So let's get started in here. Under this section, we're going to have a look about creating and managing the entitlements. Also, we're going to have a look about creating and managing the SLAs area. So let's get started. So what is an entitlement? So a entitlement is going to be a kind of a record where we are going to specify what kind of promise we have done towards a customer, that how much of thing we have promised on a free node, whether it's going to be our number of services we have offered on a free node or number of cases they can opt it on a free node. So both things can be associated, a number of case or number of hours. Let's talk about what is going to be the life cycle of the entitlement. So whenever I'm saying that you wanted to create a record that against a product called refrigerator, I'm going to offer 10 cases can be created within first 3 months. So this is my term which I'm providing, which I'm promising to the customer, that whoever will buy the refrigerator with us can open 10 free cases within first 3 months only. So over there, they will not have to provide any kind of payment for it. So I'm saying, yes, we can go for it and sell for it. So relatively for that, I need to create the entitlements. So we have created the entitlements using the same product called refrigerator and defines the same concept called 10 free cases can be created within the date of purchase for first 3 months. So we have created the entitlement. Once we have created the entitlement, our entitlement will going to be available in the draft status. After getting the entitlement in the draft status, if a customer will going to bought that product with us, in that scenario, we need to specify what is the purchase date or what is the applicable date from which date the user can start using this specific uh, kind of a service we are offering. So I'll say that they are going to get that service to be enabled after 1 week of the purchase, because they will it will take a 1 week to get the delivery done, because they are living on a different locations where the delivery can be late from our side. So once they will get the delivery, only after then they can start getting the cases to be created on a free node. So I'm saying that the activation date is going to be the 1 week later from the date of placing the order. So once I have defined that entitlement, whatever was in the draft condition, I have confirmed that now this draft need to be activated against this customer from that current date, the 1 week later date. So in that scenario, once I have defined the activation date, it's going to change the status into the waiting condition. That means the start date is not reached, but we know that start date is going to be reached on a soon far, and right now we are waiting for that start date. So that means it's going to be available in the waiting section. Once the start date will going to be achieved, let's suppose I'll say that on the 21st of November, this thing needs to be started working on a customer account. So from 21st of November, the customer can utilize these free cases and my entitlement will going to be placed in the active condition. But I have defined the 3 months of time. That means at February, the specific entitlement will going to be expired. So in that scenario, once the time limitations is going to be expired or the number of cases we have offered on a free note is going to be completed, only then the entitlement can be scheduled as an expired condition. So over there, it's going to be diverted to the scheduled towards the expired salary. If I'll say that between that time limitation, that means the customer hasn't completed his time limit, but also hasn't completed all the specific cases they can create. They didn't utilize all the things, but still I need to cancel that entitlements and wanted to associate another one. So in that scenario, whenever we are canceling the thing, the specific status of that entitlement is going to be on a cancelled note. And whether the entitlement is going to be on a cancelled note or it's going to be on an expired note, in both scenario we can renew the entitlement with the same condition to my different customer. So that is how my entitlement life cycle will going to start working into our real-time scenario. Moving forward to that, if I'll talk about some combinations of entitlement and SLA. So what kind of SLA we will get at the end? So whenever I'm saying that we have the case created over to which I have my entitlement associated, I have my SLA associated, which I have created on a custom node. So over there, the case is going to be work on a case with SLA section, that we will get the case to be resolved depending upon the SLA we are having. Then after, if I'll talk about that, if we have the case created and we have the entitlement for that, but I haven't created any kind of custom SLA for that customer or for that product itself. So in that scenario, the specific area is going to be measure up with using this condition called case without default, with default SLA, sorry. Then if I will say that we have the case created, but we do not have any of the entitlement or we do not have any of the SLAs itself, in that scenario, we will get the output as case with default SLA. So in these two in area, the result is always going to be the same. The difference is entitlement will never affect my SLA condition. Only the SLA can be affected in that scenario once we have created the custom SLA for that customer also. The next thing, if I'll talk about, so we are having the concept of a knowledge management here. So what is a knowledge management? So we know knowledge management is a repository where we can create the multiple sets of knowledge articles onto our scenario. So that is the same thing is present here. So if I'm talking about the knowledge article, so how the knowledge article is working, so and what are the features in there. So I would say under the knowledge management, you can go for creating and designing the different knowledge articles. You can manage the knowledge article life cycle. You can manage the knowledge article version history. You can manage the translate articles. You can manage the publish article thing. You can track and analyze the article statics. So these are some pre-built features which is going to be available with us, that can be opted in our environment and can be utilized. Moving forward to that, if I'll talk about the process of this knowledge management, that how the knowledge article will going to be processed. So knowledge article is going to be available to all of your employees. Anyone can go and create their articles depending upon the situation, depending upon the case, and so on. So whenever I'm saying that one of my executive, CSR team executive has created an article. So once the CSR will going to create an article and they will going to save the article. So the article will going to be moved forward in the draft status. Once the article is in draft status, then the CSR need to select their reviewer. So either they can select their reviewer, either we can create some kind of a flow in the backend where I can specify that if a CSR from this team is creating an article, then the approver needs to be assigned this person. So we can also do that using the Power Automate flow. But if we all say that we are not using the Power Automate flow in the backend, then the CSR will have the full option available that who is going to be the approver for his article. So he can decide, he can select the name of that approver. Once the approver has been associated, then first of all, it's going to be marked for review that yes, this article has been completed and now I wanted to divert it for the review section. Then the reviewer will going to pick up that specific article, whoever the approver has been selected by the user or has been selected by the flow. Then the reviewer will going to verify about the article steps, procedure, and the informations whatever has been carried out till now. So accordingly, the reviewer will going to verify each and every information. If the reviewer is saying that there is something missing and you need to update that article with this information also, or maybe from the existing article you need to remove this information that is not a useful information, needs to be transferred to the different person, in that scenario they will going to reject the approval of that article. So once they will reject the article's approval, that means it hasn't been defined from the last month, or maybe I'll say that they hasn't been utilized the kind of a thing, like the updates need to be done. So in that scenario, the reviewer will going to cancel it and going to confirm the same thing to the CSR team that you need to update these changes. Once the CSR team has received the changes that needs to be done, CSR can pick up the same article, they can update the article, and then they can again transfer it back to the draft section. And from the draft section, they need to confirm that yes, it is ready for review. Then reviewer will get that information available and reviewer will going to verify it again. Over there, once reviewer find all the things is available, all the things are perfectly fine, and it is now ready to publish, so the reviewer will going to approve that article on their end. After getting approved, the CSR can also confirm something, like first of all, CSR can decide on what different language this article needs to be published. Is it going to be published only in English or with the different languages only, also like Spanish, Dutch, Chinese, maybe in different languages also? It's always going to be different, like German and so on. So they will going to check and they're going to verify what other languages I wanted to translate these articles. So they can decide the thing in the translation area. Once the translation has been completed, after that, the CSR will going to have the full authority available to publish that article into your environment. So over there, they are going to publish the article to the portal. After getting published, the article is going to be available for searches for other customer service representative also. And at the time of publishing the article, the CSR can decide from which date the article needs to be published. Is it need to be published from today onwards, or from the current time onwards, or maybe in the future after 1 month, after 6 months, after 3 months, after 1 week, or maybe after 2 days or 3 days. So always they can decide when the article needs to be published. So whenever they will select the future date, from that current date, the article will going to be published automatically and going to be available to the respective person who can start utilizing them. So this is a specific knowledge article process is going to be available for the creation. Moving forward to that, if I'll talk about that, we have created the knowledge article, we have associated it, we have reviewed the article, we have published it for the person. Now, how can we start utilizing the knowledge article inside my cases area to resolve them? So for resolving your query, for working with the knowledge article, if you guys are opening your case, let's suppose in this image, you guys can see that we are having one of the image available. known as need help with the 3D printer components. So under this case, we are getting the full information about the account against which the case has been created. What is the case title, case number, subject, customer, origin, product, and also we are having all the activities available that are we have done so far. And relatively for this one, I need to find out the article which I have created earlier and I wanted to search it here. So from the productivity pane, we need to select the second option, which is going to have an icon like a book. You just need to select that book icon and it will going to open you the knowledge article pane inside the case itself. And within this case, once it's enabled, you can easily go ahead and write down your keywords in this search area. Depending upon that keyword, all the relative articles is going to be populated. You need to select the respective articles on your own, and after that, from the article itself, you can find out the procedure which is written. Using that procedure, you can provide the specific resolution to the customer. Also in this area, we're going to have three different options. Like if you wanted to link the article with the respective case, so the other person can also see that against this kind of case, what kind of a specific article can be utilized throughout the case. So you can click on this button to link the article with the customer, with the case. Also, you can use the second option here to open this specific article into a different page, in a different window. And the third option which is available in this article area is going to allow us to send that same article to the respective customer's email ID. So whatever the customer's email ID is present onto that customer's email ID, the articles will going to be transferred or will going to be sended. So this is how the knowledge article will going to be work on, and that's how we can start utilizing it inside my customer service application area. So that is something we are having inside this section here. Now let's move ahead and talk about some question and answer area against this specific section. So let's get started. So this is our very first question in the line. In this, it's asking me about which of the following KPIs are expected, the level of response that are available for the case table by default in your SLA section. Whether it is your first response by, is it your research time, is it your dispatch by time, it is your last response time. So what kind of KPIs are going to be available on a default node? Let's get your answers on the chat box, and I'm going to start my timer also. So let me start a timer. Okay, so the correct answer for that question is going to be the option A, first response by. By default, whenever we are creating the SLA or the SLA KPIs, so we can have the two different options. The very first is first response by and the case resolved by. So these two ones are going to be the default KPIs in the case table. Then after we are having another question in line talking about you need to make change to your organization's default SLA and you decided to deactivate it so that you can make the change. Which of the following statement is going to be on a true note? Statement 1 is all active entitlements are also going to be deactivated. Option 2, the SLA remains the default SLA when it's reactivated. Options 3, SLA fields that are linked to inactive SLA continue to populate. Option D, the SLA needs to be set as the default SLA when it's reactivated. So let's get your answers on the chat box and let me start the timer now. Okay, so time's up. The correct answer for that question is going to be the option 4, that SLA needs to be set as default SLA when it's reactivated. Because every time I'm deactivating a SLA, the default SLA option will also going to be deactivated. And whenever we are activating a SLA, and if I wanted to utilize that SLA concept on a default node, we always need to click on this default SLA option while reactivating. So this is going to be our correct answer. So that is something we are having inside this specific section. Now let's move ahead and talk about another section in this specific course, talking about implementing the scheduling area. So under this specific segment, we're going to discuss about the two things. Very first is managing the resource, and the second one is managing the services area. So let's get started here. So I'm talking about that what are the service scheduling components are going to be available. So whenever we are saying that we do wanted to create a service scheduling, so what kind of information we need to have first of all? So first of all, we need to have this services information present, what kind of services are we offering, and also the service activities needs to be created. So what is a service? Service is going to represent what the organization is providing to the customer. Let's suppose I'm working as a training industry, also the consulting industry. So what kind of services am I offering? So the GTech is offering a training services to the multiple partners. GTech is also offering the consulting services to their different customers itself. GTech is also providing the hosting services. So these three types of services we are offering, we are providing to the customer. And accordingly, once we are getting those kind of things available, so then we need to create the service activity accordingly. Let's suppose that because the GTech is offering a training services and he is able to provide the training services to multiple partners, one of the partner has bought the same service from the GTech. Like they are calling that we wanted to get my my employee certified under the AZ500. So accordingly, they are opting the AZ500 training services from us, and over there, once they are buying the thing, we need to go for creating the service activity. So over there, we are going to create a service activity for that customer called Contoso, whatever the customer is present, who is opting the AZ500 services from us. And once the service activity is going to be completed, then we can actually go for scheduling that activity to be confirmed. So first of all, we need to create the activity where I'm saying we need to provide the AZ500 training activity towards one of my customer called Contoso. So this is how the service activity can be created. A services might be a kind of anything, just like we discussed about it's a training, consulting, or hosting, or maybe the other type of services that are offering in a different environment area. Once we have done those things, so what other informations we would required while creating the service activity? So whenever I'm creating the service activity, let's suppose I'm offering this service and the Contoso has opted that service from us. So for delivering that training, what kind of resources we required? So we need to specify that we required a trainer. Also, we required a kind of a labs. Also, we required a different accounts for all the students. Also, we required some additional tools to process it, like the Azure Pass to create the services inside the Azure, and also the subscription for security platform, the security license, and so on. So these are some resources that are required by us to deliver that training. So accordingly, every time you guys are creating a service activity, we know that there are going to be some sort of requirements to complete that service activity. So whatever type of requirement it is, we can actually go and create those kind of requirements using these different records. So what kind of records we are having? So first of all, we are having the resource record. So in the resource, we can associate what kind of resource we required. Is it a person we required? Is it a tool we required? Is it a kind of a specific pass we required, the license we required, and so on? Then in the facilities and equipment, we can specify about the customer's service building. Like if I'll say that customer is asking me the training to provide the delivery of that training onto their specific on an offline mode. Offline means on their company building. So in their company building, I'll say that they are having the multiple training rooms available, but out of those training rooms, they want me to get for TR7, that is their training room 7, to deliver that offline training to their employees. So we are creating that TR7 as a facility inside our environment, so that we know that whoever resource am I aligning to that person will going to have the permission for this facility called TR7 also. Until the specific trainer will not going to have the specific permission to access the TR7, how the trainer is supposed to deliver the training. So in that scenario, the facilities are going to be created depending upon the different locations or the specific area of a building also. It's always going to be dependent on a different scenario in a different way. The next thing is the equipment. So for delivering the offline training, we require some equipment like laptops. We require the equipment like some security tools also, where I need to provide them the demonstrations and so on, and also the LAN cable for it, also the access pass, also some sort of frequent devices like any kind of devices that can be present for providing the specific demonstration to the employees itself. So whenever we are required a kind of equipments, we can specify those equipments detail in the equipment area. Like we need a specific laptop, a specific table, a specific additional screen, and so on. So we can define those things in the equipment area. Then after, we can specify the resource category. So we can specify what kind of resource is it going to be. Is it a trainer? Is it a specific laptop? Is it a specific printer? Is it a tablet? Is it a room or a different thing? So in the resource category, we can specify the different sets of categories in here. Moving forward to that, we are having this fulfillment preference option available. So the fulfillment preference will going to allow me to check for those users who are going to be available at the time of service activity, but also to check which of my resource is going to be free before that much of time, accordingly this scheduled activity. So let's suppose that my activity has been scheduled for 10 a.m. So what fulfillment preference will do, it's going to verify my condition, whatever I'm defining in it. I'll say I have defined the 15 minutes of preference. So it is going to check my specific resource who is going to be free at 9:45. So whatever the timing we have defined, accordingly it is going to check the distance of between this time. So whatever the user or the resource is going to be available from that period of time, only those users will be able to assign in this requirement called a new training requirement. If my users are going to be free at 10 a.m., so relatively for that, this specific user cannot be assigned to this service activity because we have opted for this 15-minute preference area. So it's always going to check which of my resource is going to be free before that much of time, whatever I have defined. So this is how the fulfillment preference will going to be work. The next option is going to be known as the organizational unit. So what is an organizational unit? So the organizational unit is going to be the physical location where the resource going to deliver a service. Let's suppose just like we are providing this offline training that of for AZ500, and over there I'll say that the Quantosource physical building is available as 165th Avenue Street of NY. So they have the building on that location. So we need to associate this location record under the organizational unit area so that we can decide where the resource needs to go to deliver that training. And under this building of 165th Avenue of this Contoso building, which room is required. So the room information will going to be created under the facility section. So over there, the resources can be associated. Once we have defined the organizational unit, so while creating the organizational unit, we need to specify the correct latitude and longitude over there. So we can create the account entity first relatively for their different branch, and from the branch, if I'm associating this address information, so they are going to provide me the longitude and longitude. We need to utilize the same latitude and longitude here to define, to get to know that how far is it the distance from the customers from the resource physical location to reach out to that one. So in the organizational unit, these information needs to be triggered. The next thing is that while we have created all the things, like I have created my specific resource, I have created my service, I have created my service activity, also defined my organizational unit, facilities way where I'm providing the training and so on. So now if I need to schedule that specific service, like the service needs to be scheduled from 28th of November, like from 28th the training must be started. So I'm going to check on the 28th at 9:45 which of my resources are going to be free, and also which of my tools are going to be free. So I need to add those informations in the scheduling area. So what different options we can use for scheduling? So we can opt for three different ways to schedule it. The very first is going to be the manual way. The manual way is can be utilized under this scheduled board. So we can visit the scheduled board area, and from the board area we can actually go for unscheduled service activity, and then from this grand chart we can found which of my resources available. We can easily go for drag and drop area accordingly, and that's how the service is going to be scheduled for that person. So this is how a specific service can be scheduled on a manual note. The next one is having the schedule assistant. So the schedule assistant will going to work as a semi-automated. In the semi-automated area means the schedule assistant will going to find me the relative resource as well as the relative equipment who is available to deliver that service in my current organization. And accordingly, from the list area, we need to select to which specific person or the tool I need to associate the service. So they will going to find me the thing, they will going to filter me the data based on the relevant information only, and then we need to select the options from it, and then we need to click on the book and exit button to book the services. The third option is going to be available as a RSO, resource scheduling optimization. So this specific area will going to help me to schedule the services from starting to end as on automated basis. So it is going to verify the availability first, then it's going to verify the skills, also the preference of the specific trainer and so on, and then whatever the trainer is going to be available, it's going to be automatically book that service against that trainer. So that's how the thing is going to be work in your real-time sections in this section called implementing scheduling. Now, based on this specific area, we are going to have some questions to be discussed. So let's start discussing about our first question under this section here. So the first question is here, which is talking about which of the following components do you need to define to schedule a resource for a service activity? Is it going to be the option one, resource category? Is it going to be the option two, organizational unit? Is it going to be option three, home address? Is it going to be option four, working hours? So let's get your answers on the chat, and let me start the timer now. So kindly go ahead and provide your answers on the chat, please. Okay, so time's up, and the correct answer for that question is going to be option B, organizational unit. So it's going to be a kind of a mandatory information to schedule a specific service against a kind of a customer. Because if we didn't know to which location the service needs to be completed, how would we suggest to schedule a service activity, right? So this is going to be the correct answer. Next question we are having in line is talking about which of the following items should you define when your service center is closed? Is it going to be option A, business closure, option B, customer service calendar, option C, holiday schedule, option D, working hours? So let's get your answers on the chat, and let me start the timer now. Okay, so time's up and thanks for answering. So the correct answer for that question is going to be the option A, business closer. So whenever we are closing our service center, we need to update those information in the business closer area. Now the next question we are having in line is talking about which of the following option should you use to schedule a room for service activity. Is it option A, account? Is it option B, contact? Is it option C, facility? Is it option D, crew? So let's get your answers on the chat and let me start the timer now. Okay, so time's up now and thanks for answering the question. So your correct answer is going to be option C, facility. So inside a facility, we can define a kind of a room detail from a building where the service activity needs to be scheduled. The next section we are having in line is going to talk about implementing the multi-session experience for customer service, where we are going to have a look about a area called customer service scheduling. So let's get started now. Under this specific section, we're going to discuss about deploying the omni-channel for customer service. We're going to discuss about managing the channels, configuring the agent productivity tool, and also configuring the different agent workspaces. So let's get started now. So in this area, if I'll talk about, so this is going to be a kind of a look how the customer service workspace is going to be look like. Like whenever I'm saying that we are having the CSR team, so the CSR team will going to have that kind of experience on their own, and over there they need to start working. And which option is going to be known as, which section is going to be known as which option? So let's get discussing about this. So this is going to be the first area. This area is going to be known as the session area. So in this area, every time we are opening a new session is going to be appear using these tabs. So this is your first area called about the sessions. Talking about the second option, so this one is going to redirect you always towards your home page. So this is your home page going to be look like, where you will see this customer service agent dashboard. So this is how your dashboard will going to be look like. Under this dashboard, you will get to know about the different information like your active cases, your cases available to work upon, as well as your open activities. So these informations are going to be associated. If I'll talk about the third component in this area, so this is going to be the third component, which is known as the session tabs. So whatever the different sessions is opening, each and every session will going to have its own different tab opened. So you can actually get that tab opened on your side, and accordingly you can start working. So right now I'll say that on a normal note, if my CSR team is working with the different cases, so what they need to do is they need to open the different window for themselves, and in the different window they are going to have the different case information present. But in the workspace area, in this customer service workspace, the agent can work on a different cases by using the different sessions to be opened. So this is how the thing will going to be work. Talking about the option 4, so here all the active cases are going to be associated relatively for your own account. So whoever the user is login, depending upon their own information. Let's suppose on my side, one of my agent called Ayush is going to be make a login. So Ayush will going to able to see about how many cases are associated with his account and how many cases are currently open. So he will be able to get the information about all those informations here. Same way, he will get to know about the information that out of these all active cases, how many cases are available to work with. In this area, we'll be able to see those informations that how many cases are available to start working. Because in the active section, it's also going to show you those cases on which you are working right away. So that's how these two different information will going to change some little bit of information from each other. The next thing we are having is a open activity. So in the open activity, it is going to confirm to you that whatever activities you have scheduled for the different cases to the different customers, at which time which activity needs to be completed and how, what is going to be the method of communicating. So all the activity is going to be listed in this area depending upon the customer's information. So these three informations is going to be available. Apart from this, on each and every sessions, there are going to be open some sort of anchor tab. So there are going to be like two different tabs of information that can be open. Very first is going to be known as the anchor tab, and the second one is going to be known as the application tab. The difference between them is we cannot close the anchor tab. However, we can close the application tab. So this is only a basic difference between anchor tab and application tab. The information is going to be displayed the same, but we cannot close the anchor tab, but we can close this application tab now. So whatever the tabs are going to be opened on a default node will going to be known as the anchor tab, and whoever's tab will not get the cross button to close it. All of them are going to be known as the anchor tab here. Then after, if I'll talk about using this plus button, if a new tab is going to be open, so we can open easily the applications tab because they are going to provide us the option to close the tab here. So using this plus button, we can open the related entity for that same case informations and so on. So this is how my workspace is going to be look like in the real-time section. Moving forward to that, if I'll talk about some basic profiles, because this environment is going to be shown to us depending upon the profile we have created. So the Microsoft will having some default profile that is going to be available with us. We can also create some custom profile. We can associate a person in those custom profiles as well. So what default profiles are going to be available? So these are the names of them. First one is a customer service workspace plus channels plus inbox plus default profile. This is going to be a kind of a complete profile that can be provided to my CSR team to work upon. The second one is going to be known as the customer service workspace plus channels plus default profile. So here the inbox facility is not going to be available. That means the user cannot access their emails on a default node. The next one is going to be known as the customer service workspace plus inbox plus default profile. That means the customer can access the inbox only, but cannot access the different channels, the different engagement channel with the customer. The next one we are having is a customer service workspace default profile. So in the default profile, channels and inbox are not going to be associated. Then we are having a next profile in the line called omni-channel for customer service default profile. So these are some basic default profiles which is going to be available with us. We can opt for any one of them. So either, but we cannot make a change. Whatever the specific type of profiles are available, whatever the option is associated with this profile, we need to use the same type of options from us also. We cannot make a change in it. If you do wanted to create a kind of a custom environment, so we do need to create a custom profile also. Moving forward to that, if I'll talk about the omni-channel. So what is an omni-channel? So you can see that the customer service application workspace is going to be look like the same. The thing which is going to be different after configuring this omni-channel is you will get another area to get the channel page open, the channel pane open, whether it's your email channel, whether it's your chat channel, whether it's your call channel and so on. So this email specific channel pane is going to be dogged or going to be minimized. Only this information is going to be on a different node. Also on the right hand side, you will find the productivity pane where I will get the smart assist, knowledge articles and agent script option available. Other than that, every time you are getting a new request from one of the customer using the engagement profile in which you are associated with, you will get this kind of notification pane also, where it's going to show you that you are receiving a phone call from this customer, you are receiving the SMS from this customer. So this is going to be the basic difference between all of them. Now, if I'll talk about what is omnichannel, so omnichannel is going to be a way that will provide us the capability to connect with the customer using the different kind of channels like phone call activity, like the specific chat thing and so on. So over there, we can provide a different ways to work with. It will going to reduce the customer effort. First of all, if we are opting for this, then it will reduce the customer effort to contact with the CSR team using, because they are going to have a multiple ways, so they can opt for any one of them. Also, it will give us the better customer effort as well as going to increase my customer loyalty with ourselves. Talking about what kind of service provided to the agents inside this omnichannel. So for the agents, the omnichannel will provide the session management. That means they can opt for multiple channels at the same time and they can easily switch the channels between themselves. Next thing, the customer interaction summary. So in the customer engagement area, you will get the whole information about the customer interactions, whatever the type of interactions we have done so far, based on the chat, based on the call, based on the email, you will get all the informations. Also, it will help me to open the multiple applications at the same time using this plus button in here. So we can open the multiple applications depending upon the information we need. We can also go for having the information about the customer summary. So whenever I'm going to accept a call or chat from a specific customer, on the right hand side, a new customer summary is going to be opened, where I will get all the information about that customer, that against which account this customer is belongs to, what cases has been opened from that customer till now, what is the pre-chat service score, what's the post-chat service score, what is their information, and so on. Everything is going to be written over there. Also, it will give us the quick access to work with the Dynamics tool. So it will going to give me a very quick access to work with this whole environment in a single pane without having a navigation utilized to different screens and so on. It will give me the real-time notification to be appear on the top. So these are some informations that the specific capabilities is going to be provided to the agent using this omni-channel area here. Moving forward to that, if I'll talk about how to access this agent information, the agent area against this omnichannel section. So you just need to go to your app list area using this specific URL, talking about https slash your environment name .crm.dynamics.com slash apps. From the list of the application, you need to select for one of the application known as omnichannel for customer service. You need to open this specific application and you will get your environment to be ready. You can also go for selecting this specific application and you will be able to access it. Talking about managing the sessions and work with the application inside this. So whenever you guys are working with this omni-channel area, you will able to manage the sessions on your side. Every time you wanted to switch yourself to a different session, you just need to click on that session name which is open till now, and accordingly a new session can be appear and can be open. Then after, we're going to able to change the session tiles and icons always, that what kind of session icons needs to be present or a session title is need going to present. We can specify those things while creating the app customer profile. We can start the session using the notification tab to accept and reject the call, and also using some case informations and so on. So from the list of the cases, we can select the specific case and the new session is going to be open. We can manually start the session. We can also go for automatically starting my session using the accept button from the notification area, and we can also go for closing the session. So in each and every session, you will get this cross button available at the last. Whenever you wanted to close the session, just click on this close button and your session will going to be closed. So that's how we can start working with the sessions and the application in the omni-channel area. Talking about what kind of customer information that is going to be appear with us. So let's get some information accordingly. So here are some kind of informations that is going to be appear towards our environment whenever we were talking about working with omni-channel for customer service. The very first option is we will get the information about my customer, whether it is a contact or it is an account. We will get the conversation summary, whatever we have done till now with the customer. We will get the case detail about the relative case which is already opened or which is currently opened, which is has been resolved past and so on. All the case detail is going to be appear. We will also be able to see the recent cases. We will be able to see the record timeline, that what kind of activities we have done with this customer till now, depending upon my last 3 months, last 4 months, and last 6 months. We will also be able to get the information to be displayed, including the channel, queue, wait, times, and so on inside my conversation summary. We're going to have information about the specific steps the customer followed to connect with our environment here, whether they have visited our website, then they have selected the chat bot, then they have chatted with my chat bot, and then they will ask to transfer the call. So each and every steps is going to be present in this portal navigation area. In the pre-chart survey area, all the basic information is going to be appear. And then in the visitor details, it's going to include the detailed record of the customer, like the location of the customer, the browser of the customer using, operating system what customer using, and some other information. So these kind of information is going to be appear, and you will be able to get those informations on your own while working with this omni-channel with the customer service. Talking about how the specific omni-channel for customer service can help the agent productivity. So inside this environment, you will get a productivity tool area available. We are calling it as a productivity tool. So in the productivity tool, there are going to be the 4 kinds of tools that can be associated. Very first is Smart Assist. So this is going to be the first option, is Smart Assist. The second one is going to be known as the knowledge article. The third one is going to be known as the agent script. And the fourth one is going to be known as the uh, teams. So these 4 kind of channels we can associate with our environment here, and all those informations will going to help the agent to increase the productivity. And how so? So the smart asset will going to help the agent to verify about the case they have opened. Let's suppose customer has called us and they are asking about their opened cases, which is they have recently opened with us. So once I'm going to open the respective case, against that case, smart assets will going to find out the relative case which has been closed already in the past from my historical data. This is going to be the first option they will going to show me, that here this is your specific relative case. You can follow the findings of that case to resolve this case itself. The second information the smart asset will give me about the knowledge article, which is the relative knowledge article based on my current information, based on my current course. So we do not have to find the article on our own. Smart assets will do it from me. Also, same way the scripts and the macros that can be utilized, the smart assets will going to also find me those things on our own. So this is how it will going to verify the things, that all the things are available to the agent, and agent can follow these things from the smart assets, and accordingly he can resolve the case. So that's how the agent productivity can be increased. Other than that, if the knowledge article is available, so the user can also go and see the knowledge articles on their own. Like if customer is asking some additional information, and relatively for that you need to find out some articles so that you can give the information to the customer, you can directly go for clicking on the knowledge article button, and from that area you can find the relative article, provide the information accordingly. Then after, you can also go and work with the agent script. So every time a IoT call is registered with us and you wanted to resolve that call without visiting the site, because you have confirmed with the customer that issue has been resolved on the site area, and you wanted to upload your firmware to the IoT devices, or maybe resolve the correct issue which we are having. So you can run some scripts also on their own using this agent scripts. The teams will going to help me to connect your specific superiors on the teams to get yourself a kind of a suggestion how the calls need to be handled and so on. So these options are going to help us to increase the agent's productivity. Talking about what kind of channels that are available inside this environment of omni-channel, so let's get started here. So the different kind of channels are going to be available to the customer. The very first is going to be the record channel, where the items will going to get automatically distributed to the agents. Then we are going to have the chat channel. We are going to have the message channel. We are going to have the voice channel. So these are some basic channels which is going to be available with the omni channel for a normal load. Other than that, you can also go for opting a different kind of channels like Facebook channel, WeChat channel, Line app channel, and maybe the Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and so on. You can also go for opting those custom channels as well. So you need to create those custom channels and you can associate with your environment. So that's how the different kind of channels are present onto our environment. And that is something we are having inside this segment called working with the customer service workspaces. Now, relatively for this segment, we are having some Q&A session in the upcoming area. So let's get started with our first question now. So let me move ahead with the first question in this section. So the first question is talking about if an agent is currently working in their home session with no additional sessions open and they want to be able to search through their organization's available account list, how would they perform the task in the application? Is it option A from the session panel? Is it option B from the application bar? Is it option C from the quick create button? Or is it option D from the customer summary? So let's get your answers on the chat and let me start the timer now. Okay, so time's up and thanks for answering the question. So the correct answer for that question is going to be from the application bar. They will be able to see the organization's available account list. The next one we are having in line is while working with a customer, if you invite another agent into the conversation to assist in the resolution, to get the new agent up to speed, you switch the conversation to internal. After the switch conversation is switched back to the public, who will see the message that you entered? Is it only the customer can see? Is it only you and the customer can see? Is it all three of you can see? Or maybe you and only the different agent can see, not the customer. So let's get your answers on the chat and let me start the timer now. Okay, so the correct answer for that question is going to be option C, all three of you. So all of the persons will be able to access that chat messages. The next question we are having in line is after a conversation routed to an agent and the customer summary screen is loaded, which section of the screen would provide the agent with any contacts variable that were captured? Is it your visitor detail? Is it your additional detail? Is it your pre-chat survey? Is it your timeline? So let's get your answers on the chat and let me start the timer now. Okay, so the correct answer for that question is going to be option B. additional details. So in the additional detail, you can see about the contacts variable that were captured throughout the chat itself. So this is all the questions we are having in line. And now we are having our next segment talking about managing the analytics and insights. So before talking about this segment, let's take a 15-minute coffee break here. And after coming from 15-minute coffee break, we're going to start working with this segment here. Till the time, enjoy your break, guys. Insights and analytics area. So over there, we can configure some customer insights. We can configure the visualizations and reports area. We can configure some omnichannel insights also. So how the insights will going to be look like here. So if I'll say that, so this is going to be a view how my customer service insights report is going to be look like. Over there, we are going to have a reports available that will help me to understand about my workspace area, that will going to give me the results based on the 3 different topics relatively for a summary based, as well as agent based, as well as the topic based. So under this report, my data is going to be look like that how much of durations of my data needs to be shown. So we can decide that either we wanted to get the historical report of my last 30 days, of my last 60 days, last 90 days, or 120 days. We can easily go and define those options in here. After getting that options to be defined, we can decide against which kind of channel I wanted to display my data in this analytics area. We can always go and define that channel. We can also go ahead and define the things under the queue section, where I can define that based on a specific queue, I wanted to see how many cases we received and resolved. We can get that information to be displayed in an easy note. We can also display the case based on the agent scenario, where I can enable the agent functionality, and based on the specific agent, we can get the data to be resolved. And what kind of information is going to be displayed in this customer service insights? So over there, the whole summary of your organization's data is going to be displayed, like how many incoming cases you guys are having, how many active cases are present, how many escalated rate is ongoing currently in your environment, what is your average resolution time to provide the resolution to a specific customer against a case, what is the average CSAT for it, what is the average service sentiments, and so on. What is your case volume by trend, what is the case volume by date status, what is the incoming cases by channel, and so on. So you can decide these each and everything's on your own. Apart from this, you can also decide what is going to be your open cases by priority, open cases by specific age, what is your average CSAT trend, average survey sentiments, and so on. So these informations will going to be displayed on a summary note. Same way, just like it is showing me the data in a summary note, you can also get in-depth information about those cases also. Like in the summary, it is showing me that in the last 30 days, you get 21 cases to be created. If you wanted to have a list how which of the 20 cases has been came up in the last 30 days, you can click on this tile and it will going to redirect you towards a page where you will get the basic informations to be available accordingly. So the same thing is going to be help in the agent section also. So in the agent environment, we'll be able to look out the data for the agent section. Same way in the topics area, it's going to show me the data depending upon my topics, what we have configured in the topic clustering. So whatever topic I have defined, accordingly it is going to generate me a report. Same way, whatever agent I'm selecting, based on that the data is going to be generated, and we can get the same type of information against them also. Moving forward to that, if I'll talk about what other capabilities we are having in the list. So we are having a multiple sets of capabilities here, like we can enable the historical analytics, like we can analyze my historical data, whatever we are having in the current environment. We can also go for working with the topic clustering for cases, where I can configure some sort of topics that needs to be checked using a kind of a field activity and so on. And accordingly, the reports are going to be generated. We can also go for working with this knowledge search and analytics area here, where I can go for providing some sort of detail about the knowledge articles, that how much time the knowledge article has been searched by the users against which of the topics and so on. We can also enable this settings here, calling about AI suggestions for similar cases and knowledge articles on your current environment to enable a section of the smart assist. If you want to utilize the smart assist in your customer service workspace, we need to enable this settings area. And after that, the smart assist will going to verify the relative cases and it's going to show you the result accordingly. We can also enable the customer service analytics in the Power BI. So the customer service analytics reports is always going to be generated using the Power BI tool. And same way, we can also generate our own reports inside the Power BI tools itself after integrating it with your customer service app. Moving forward to that, if I'll talk about, so we can also work with this customer service insights topic clustering area. So in the topic clustering area, we can define the different things. Like in the summary page, it's going to show me about some summary information like what is the status of my this setting, what is the data attribute is going to be utilized, how many topics has been generated so far, how many cases are associated against these topics, what is a successful run at the last, and what is the run frequency. So accordingly, the topic clustering will going to be run and going to generate me the data as well. So in the summary tab, we're going to get these informations to be displayed. In the data mapping area, we can define the entity attribute first. Based on the attribute, the data is going to be find out. So here I can define what is going to be my case entry attribute. So right now I'm defining in this image as a case title. Same way you can select your own attribute itself, like the case title, subject, or maybe the other ones, or maybe the description and so on. So accordingly, you can select the thing. Then in the data cleaning area, you can enable the settings also to clean up the data of last 24 hours or the last 4 hours, which has been generated in a previous report, so that the new data is going to be generated in the new report itself. And in the topic automation, you can define some sort of information about the specific automation that needs to be configured in the background while finding the data topic to be available on our side and so on. Also, in this area, if I'll talk about, so after configuring this data mapping options, the case title, attribute, and so on, we will find an option here called phrases. So in the phrases, we need to define a kind of a topic against which the data needs to be generated, or we need to find the informations as well. Moving forward to that, if I'll talk about, so this is how your Power BI dashboard report is going to be look like. So whenever we are talking about the customer service insights area and so on. So in the Power BI dashboard, we can connect it with my environment and we can generate our report. And in the report, we can add a multiple tiles, multiple charts, multiple visualizations, and so on. And also Power BI has a inbuilt capability available to find out some informations from your current data. So you can ask a question only, and based on the AI and ML, it is going to verify the question and accordingly it is going to give you the answers. Let's suppose that inside this report, I wanted to see about the case which has been generated by an engagement channel called email. So I can go and write it down the question in this area called ask a question about your data. And we will need to written a question here called case by email. So it will going to give me the number of the cases that has been generated via email section, via engagement channel called email. And that's how the report things will going to be displayed. So it is also a powerful capability which is inbuilt in my Power BI. And we can easily utilize this specific inbuilt capability on our area. Moving forward to that, in this customer service analytics historical dashboard, the same kind of dashboard is going to be displayed just like the way we discussed it just right before it. So here I will get all the information about my incoming cases, active cases, escalated cases, average resolve time, average CSAT, what is my survey sentiment, open cases by ages, cases by channel, cases by priority, cases by status in the 3 different format. Like the summary, that means for the whole organizational area. Agent means a specific person only, specific CSR team only, or the CSR agent, and the topics which we have configured in the topic clustering. So accordingly, the things will going to be generated and we'll be able to look out all the information about my historical section in this area, in this dashboard. Moving forward to that, in the insights area, we will also find out one more dashboard on the list that is talking about working with this knowledge search analytics dashboard. So under this knowledge search analytics dashboard, it is going to give me the different kind of information like how much time the user has searched for the knowledge articles, how much time the search has been ranked, how much time what is my engagement rate depending upon the cases and so on, what is my search count durations which has been taken to search the article and so on in a single case, and also what is my top 20 cases, the knowledge articles which has been searched by my whole entire CSR team throughout my organization, so that will be able to focus on our top 20 content articles, so for updating and upgrading them depending upon the needs and depending upon the situations. So we can easily go and do the same things on our own here. Also we'll be able to see the same things using the no result sections, like against which of the topics the users didn't find any of the results. So you can see the specific information in the chart, and based on that you can create some sort of articles for those topics as well if it's required, if it's a kind of a topic regarding which the calls are getting much more higher. So over there, it's going to show me the KPIs of the knowledge search as well as my top 20 search item depending upon the case result, no results, as well as a maximum search, a minimum search, and so on. Moving forward to that, if I'll talk about, so we have some additional options here for reporting and visualization card. So let's get in the information, what kind of different of visualizations options we are having in the list. So I am saying that in this specific area of customer service dashboard, customer service workspace, you will get a multiple way to visualize your data. The very first is going to be the views. So every time we are selecting the entity data, so in the entity data, we can decide what kind of data do you want it to display. Is it an active list I want it to display? Is it an inactive list? Is it a resolved list? It is a draft list, or maybe something like that. So every time you wanted to filter out the data using the different variants, you can utilize the view sections in that scenario. The second one we are having in the list is called chart. So what is the chart option? The chart will going to help me to generate some sort of existing charts for visualizing my current data which I'm having in the Dynamics. And also we can utilize some sort of existing charts which is available in the list. So those existing charts are going to be known as the system charts also. So you can opt for them as well to display it alongside your view, alongside your dashboard. Also, we are having the dashboard option to display my data in a very visualizing format where I can associate the multiple charts in it on a single node, and also the list in it, also the web resource we need to utilize, and so on. So each and everything can be configured at a single place in a single dashboard. So we can opt for the dashboard also to visualize my data in a very good mode. Then we are having this customer service insights area available where I can get some multiple types of reports which is already generated. You can go there and get the data analytics from there. You can get the insights of your data from that area and so on. Then after, we can enable the integration of the Power BI tool also. After enabling the integration of the Power BI, we can generate some sort of reports and dashboards from the Power BI using the different types of tools and features that are available in the Power BI tool. And accordingly, we can also display that report inside my customer service workspace area. So over there in the customer service workspace app, we need to display, we need to add that Power BI dashboard report, and then it's going to start displaying it. The next option we are having is known as for visualizing is the Microsoft Excel. So the Dynamics will allow me to download the data which I'm having in the entity in an Excel format. And then using the Excel file, we can actually go for visualizing my data using the multiple options like macros, like pivot charts, pivot table, as well as the filter, as well as other options we are having in the Excels like charts and so on. So you can visualize the data inside your Excel file also after downloading it from the Dynamics. The next option we are having is a Microsoft Excel templates. Let's suppose that we have downloaded the Excel file and visualize our data as per our need. And I do wanted to use the same template again and again to visualize my data into the different format over to my upcoming data, which we are having in the future. So what we can do is we can create a template for it and we can upload the same template in the Dynamics environment. And then every time I wanted to generate the same type of report, we just need to download that Excel template. And accordingly, my chart and visualization thing is always going to be ready based on my updated data. Same way we can go for working with this Word template also. In the Word template, we can actually go for working with this section where I can go for creating some documents again, my cases and so on, like the agreement documents, like the entitlement documents and so on, whatever we have promised to the customer. So we can utilize this Word template also to generate those things, to generate those kind of documents for and to visualize it into the quick manner. And also we can work with this advanced find option that will help me to put some and or conditions over to my environment called working with this area here called let's suppose we are going to known as like finding something like filtering my data. So whenever we are talking about at the time of filtering my data, I do wanted to add and or condition. We can work with this advanced find options in that scenario. Then after we can also go and utilize this SQL Server reporting services area, that is my SSRS type of reports. So in the dynamics, there is an option present to generate some existing reports, new reports based on the existing data. And also there are going to be some reports on a default generated. You can run these reports and get your data to be visualized as per your own requirement. If you wanted to create a new report, so it's going to utilize the concept of SSRS, and accordingly the reports can be generated. Talking about what the capabilities of the charts we are having. So using the charts, we can visualize the current data inside the dataverse. Then inside the dataverse, there are going to be some predefined charts will going to be available, and those charts are going to be known as the system charts in here. So you can opt for that chart to be displayed alongside your view and sections. You can also go for building your own charts, that is going to be known as the personal chart as well, using some simple click and point interference directly from the Dynamics environment itself. You can also display your charts alongside your views and the dashboards, and whatever the charts you have created are going to be known as the personal charts, and the charts which has been predefined are going to be known as the system charts in here. So that's how your charts are going to be work. Moving forward to that, if I'll talk about how the charts are going to be shown to us and how it is going to be look like. So here is an option for it. So over there, I can see that I can go for generating some bar chart over to my environment. Depending upon my existing data, I can create some stack chart over it. I can go for creating some pivot charts and so on. And accordingly, the different kind of charts can be created. Same way, if I'll talk about the Dynamics dashboard. So while creating the Dynamics dashboard, you can associate what different charts are going to be associated with a single dashboard. So in a single dashboard, you can display multiple charts depending upon a multiple conditions. So the better view of your data can be visualized from a single area. Then after, if we're talking about creating the Dynamics 65 dashboard, so while creating the Dynamics 65 dashboard, you can go for opting them into a different manners, like which specific layout do you want it to select. So you can select your respective layout in here, like it is going to be the 3-column regular dashboard, 3-column multi-focused, 4-column overview dashboard, 3-column focus dashboard, or so on. You can select your specific type of layout. Accordingly, in each and every area, you can opt for multiple things to be associated, like you can associate the list, you can associate the chart, you can associate the web resource, you can associate the iframe content, you can associate the application thing, and so on. So in the Dynamics area, you can offer these 5 different services while creating a dashboard. Moving forward to that, if I'll talk about the reporting services, so this is a view how your reporting services is going to be look like whenever we are going to create it. You can generate a report group using the group by method. You can decide what column need to be displayed in the column area and so on. And accordingly, your reports can be created. And the reports is always going to utilize a kind of a SSRS concept, that is your SQL Server reporting services. And accordingly, a new reports can be created using your own report wizard. Moving forward to that, if I'll talk about the Power BI. So what is a Power BI? So Power BI is a powerful tool included in the Power Platform package to allow us to analyze my historical data or my real-time data using a multiple visualization method, using a multiple charts method and the dashboards methods and so on. And it is very easy to utilize that tool, whether we are getting the reports to be generated via Power BI desktop, or I'm displaying the report over to my web, over to my mobile, and so on. So the different options are available for working with this Power BI. So the Power BI desktop is going to be the better way for creating any kind of reports on your own. So you need to open the Power BI desktop first, then you need to connect your Dataverse. After connecting your Dataverse, you need to select the respective table over to which you wanted to create a report. Is it going to be the case table? Is it going to be the leads table, the sales tables, and so on? You can create select a specific option accordingly. Then you can create a multiple visualizations. Just like in this image, you can see I'm getting the visualization of number of cases, cases by types, services, cases by account, cases by city, and so on, channels we are selecting, and so on. So this kind of visualizations can be opted on our environment. And then we can publish this report towards my powerbi.com. So this is my online platform of the Power BI. So on the online platform of the Power BI, we can publish this report. After publishing this report, we can actually go for pinning up the report successfully towards one of my dashboard, whatever we have created using the online section. And once we have pinned it to the dashboard, we can directly share the specific dashboard or the report with the respective persons whom do I wanted to allow to see those reports on their side. So you need to share it accordingly, and then the specific reports can be shared to them. The next thing we are having in the line is talking about the omni-channel insights. So whenever I am saying that you guys have configured the omni-channel environment for your current environment and your current organization, so what kind of data can be displayed in the omni-channel insights area? So first of all, we need to download a tool, and under that tool, we can generate the reportings. So what kind of data is going to be displayed? So over there, we'll be able to display the data based on my conversations and the channels, whatever we have done with the customer, like what kind of channels we are opting, whether we are receiving the call using the email, using the chatbot, using the Facebook, using the LinkedIn, Twitter, and so on. We can actually go and create the charts accordingly. We can also go and create the charts based on the queues and the agents, where I can decide to which queue the case has been diverted, to which agent the case has been diverted. Accordingly, the chart can be created depending upon my omni-channel section. Same way, we can also go ahead and create some bot insights area that will going to provide me a historical visibility into how bots are performing, like how many incoming calls we are receiving, how much time the bots are taking to resolve them, to transfer it towards the agent, and so on. So each and every the kind of reports is going to be available over there. You just need to select the respective report available, and you will be able to see them. Moving forward to that, in the omni-channel, we can also go for having another dashboard to be displayed relatively for sentiment analytics. So over there, you will be able to get the data that is depending upon your positive sentiments, your negative sentiments, your neutral sentiments, and so on. So there is going to be some sort of charts that are going to be available with us, and we can utilize them to display these different kind of data in here. Talking about configuring the omni-channel for Insights dashboard. So how can we start configuring it? So over there, for configuring the omni-channel Insights dashboard, you need to download a tool first, and the tool name is going to be known as Omni-channel Insights for Dynamics 365. After installing this specific app on your environment, you need to connect your omni-channel insights with your Dynamics area. Then after, you need to configure the refresh frequency for the Power BI data set, like after how much of time the data needs to be refreshed and so on. Then you need to publish the application within your organization, and you need to add that Power BI dashboard to the omni-channel for customer service. And that's how your reports are going to be generated on a default node. So this is how the things will going to be work. So that is something what we are having inside this segment called configuring some analytics and insights. Now, let's go ahead and discuss about some questions from this segment here. So the very first question we are going to have in line is talking about what feature does customer service insights contain that will group similar cases together so that they can be more effectively used in dashboards and charts. So is it option A, incident? Is it option B, categories? Is it option C, topics? Is it option C, D, titles? So let's get your answers on the chat, and let me start the timer now. So kindly provide your answers on the chat, and we're going to discuss it accordingly. Okay, so the time's up and thanks guys for answering. So the correct answer for that question is going to be the option C, called topics. So the topics is going to be a way that will help me to group some similar cases with each other. The next question we are having in line is talking about what should you do to make the customer service historical analytics summary report from customer service insights available to users with the CSR manager role in the customer service hub. So is it option A, share a workspace, option B, share the report, option C, add the privileges to the customer service historical analytics table, or is it option D, enable knowledge search analytics? So let's get your answers on the chat and let me start a timer now. Okay, so time's up guys and thanks for answering the question. So the correct answer for that question is going to be the option C. We need to go for adding some privileges to the customer service historical analytics table. Okay, so now we are having a next question in the line talking about you have installed the customer service analytics Power BI app. What should you do to make the app available to supervisors only? So is it option A, we need to publish the app to the organization? Is it option B, you need to publish the app to the specific users? Or is it option C, you need to share the customer service analytics data sets? Or is it option D, you need to add the users to the Power BI workspace? So let's get your answers on the chat and let me start a timer now. Okay, so time's up and let's get the answers in the chat. So yes, thank you guys for answering. So the correct answer for that question is going to be the option B, publishing the app to the specific users, because I want that some of the personal user can only access my app here. So this is how the things will going to be work in the real-time environment. Now we are having a next segment of our environment here, talking about implementing the Microsoft Power Platform. So under this one, we're going to start discussing about configuring some model-driven apps. We're going to have a look about creating some custom apps. We're going to have a look about implementing some Power Virtual Agents with a Dynamics 365 customer service. So let's get started here. So let me start working now. So whenever we are talking about implementing the Power Platform environment with our current customer service application environment, so how is it going to be look like? So let's get have a information around accordingly. So what kind of applications we can actually interact, or actually we can create on a custom node? So we can create a three different types of application. The very first is a Canvas app. Second one is a model driven app. Third one is a portal apps. And also after just some time, the Microsoft is going to is planning to launch another type of application called Power Pages. It is an advanced version of the portal pay apps, and over there you will get some more functionality to customize your app itself. Whenever we were talking about the Canvas app, so what is a Canvas app? Canvas app is going to be a kind of an application what we can create it for mobile and tablet screens. So over there, if we do wanted to create some sort of app that can be displayed in my mobile and tablet area, so the Canvas app is going to be a best way to create it. Also, the Canvas app will going to have the availability that it can get the data from any of the sources. So let's suppose I'm saying that in this case entity, we are working with the customer service platform, but we do have some data stored on my on-premises environment over to my SQL server. And I wanted to display the data from that list inside my application so that my users can access them and can have the information accordingly. So we can create a Canvas app for the same. We can connect my internal SQL server as a data connector, as a data source, and then you can generate a app here. So by default, a Power Platform will going to generate me a Power Apps using some existing data within 40 to 45 seconds. And that app will going to contain 3 different screens on default node. The first screen is going to be known as the browser screen. Second one is going to be known as a display screen. That means the information screens, or maybe the detail screen we can call it. The third one is going to be known as a edit screen. So these 3 types of a screen is going to be available. On the browser screen, it's going to display me the list of my data depending upon the data source. In the details area, it will going to give me the detailed information about the selected record. In the edit screen area, we can actually get editing of my existing record or maybe to creating a new record. So that's how your application can be created. Now, when we talk about that, we do need to create another app for data management. Like whatever data I'm having in the Dataverse, I need to manage that data on a centralized place by working with some custom entities. So in that scenario, we can work with the model-driven app, and it will going to help me to create a data-oriented application here. The thing is that the Canvas app can utilize any resource, or we can call it as a multiple data resources, multiple data sources. But whenever it comes to a model driven and portal app, so here we can only create it using the Dataverse, and both of them are going to be the data oriented application. So this is also a one thing that is present. So over there, what we can do is we can generate a model driven app, and we can decide what entity it needs to be configured under this app, how many areas we required, how many groups we required, how many sub areas we required. And accordingly, we can save the app, we can launch the app, and we can start managing the app from a centralized place. Let's suppose that in the Dynamics, I'm using my multiple applications like customer service, field service, and also my I'll see the sales hub applications and marketing app and so on. So now I wanted to have a centralized place where I can get the dashboards to be displayed from all the applications. So instead of opening all the applications again and again, what we can do is we can generate some dashboards in each and every application area. And after generating it, we can generate another app. And inside that app, we can display all the dashboards in that same application. So every time I need to get the information to be displayed on an analytics basis, I do not need to open the respective app. I can just open the custom app and I can get the overview of my each and every application area. So that's how the model driven will going to help us in that kind of scenario. Now the next thing is talking about the portal app. So what is a portal app? So the portal app is going to be a kind of an application. We can create a kind of a websites we can create actually. In this Microsoft technologies, we are having 2 options to create a website. The very first is a SharePoint and the next one is a portal app. The SharePoint is going to allow me to create a websites, but it's going to be only purely internal. We cannot add my external user to be a part of that SharePoint list. But in this portal application, we can actually achieve that goal. We can associate my identity provider with my portal app, and then using the identity provider, my outer persons can also access my portal app, can also access my websites, which I'm creating using this portal app in here. And based on their login information, they will get to know about the data that needs to be displayed to them. So we can generate a multiple pages. We can create the multiple pages. We can customize the page. We can display the list in it. We can display the form. We can add the support form. Using that, we can also trigger some sort of logic app by capturing the details to sending some marketing email and so on. So every time I wanted to connect with my stakeholder, with my existing customer, or maybe with my business partners and so on, so we can start working with this portal apps area in here. But right away in the portal apps, we have some limited options to customize it. But the Microsoft is introducing us towards this power page, which will going to give me another level of customizable options to customize my websites as per our own. So maybe after some time we'll be able to access the power pages also. So this is a different kind of applications we are having in the power platform. Moving forward to that, if I'll talk about an example scenario, how the specific pages are going to be look like, or maybe the applications are going to be look like. So here are the example. Whenever we come about working with the power apps in the canvas app format, so this is going to be an example of the canvas app, how my canvas app is going to be look like using my mobile and tablet. The next one is talking about working with this model driven app. So this is how my model driven app is going to be look like. And if I'll talk about some examples of the model driven app, so whatever the application we are working, is it my customer service, field service, and so on, each and every application will going to have an example of the model driven app. Using the model driven app technology, those applications has been created. So this is how the specific informations are going to be displayed. Now talking about another functionality in the Power Platform. So we have a functionality where we can actually embed my Canvas app inside my model driven app also. So every time I'm saying that I wanted to have a scenario like whenever a case has been resolved, I just wanted to get a check that whether the inspection has been done for that case or not, for the service which we have associated or not. So what we can do is we can go for generating a Canvas app using the inspection table or the quality checks table, and then we can embed that app inside my case area. So whenever I will open a case, under that case area, we can select the respective case from the model driven app, and we can see the quality checks. And based on that, once we have found that the quality checks has been done, we can go for resolving the case accordingly. So this is how the application can be utilized after embedding. So there's an option available for embedding the app also. Moving forward to that, if I'll talk about my another powerful tool, talking about the Power Virtual Agent in this environment. So what is a Power Virtual Agent? So the Power Virtual Agent is a kind of a chatbot we can create using this tool that will help me to create a conversations with my customers, with my internal officers, internal agents, and so on. So the Power Virtual Agents can help us in a very multiple ways. So it will help the organizations to automate the routine conversation with my existing customer and allow their agent to focus on only high value transactions and interactions and so on. It will also help the human agents to see the full scripts of the bot conversations, that whatever the conversation has been made till now and how the things are working. Bots that are created using this tool called Power Virtual Agent can also be connected using the omni-channel as a front face of my company, so that every time a customer is trying to contact us via chat, so they will need to face a bot first, where the bot will going to have some capability to answer their question on a respective note. Like if they are answering a question based on which we are having the data available, and using the data only the answer needs to be triggered, so we can configure the topics accordingly, and based on that the data we are having, the answers will going to be sent by the bot to them. And accordingly, most of the cases can be resolved on the chat basis. But if it's required that bot needs to transfer the call to the real-time agent, so in that scenario, the option is available. They can transfer the call to the omni-channel agent or to the agent itself using the omni-channel scenario. And for configuring that request itself, so there are some prerequisites that needs to be completed first. So what are the prerequisites? So the first prerequisite is we need to register an application in my Microsoft Azure. Then we need to create a Power Virtual Agent bot. Then we need to configure that Power Virtual Agent bot to hand off their conversation towards a omni-channel application itself, and then we need to configure the omni-channel for customer service accordingly. And once these prerequisites are going to be completed, only then the call can be transferred to the respective agent itself. So that is something we are having inside this section called working with the Power Platform scenario. Now let's move ahead and have some Q&A sections accordingly here. So I'm going to ask you guys some questions, and based on that, I would request all of you to kindly go ahead and answer it from this section as well. So we are having the first question in line is, if you want to display the data from another system on the case form in Dynamics 65 Customer Service Hub, what should you use? Either you will use a model-driven app to display the information, either portal app, either Power Automate Flow, or a Canvas app. So let's get your answers on the chat, and let me start the timer now. Okay, so the correct answer for that question is going to be option 4. So whenever we were talking about the data from another system, that means apart from the Dataverse. So because portal app and model driven app can only utilize the data from their own Dataverse, but the Canvas app can access the multiple data sources. So in that scenario, we always need to pick up the Canvas app for the resolution. The next question we are having in the list is, which conversation node would you add to a bot to help initiate a transfer to a live agent? Is it option A, call an action, option B, end of conversation, option C, ask a question, option D, go to topic? So let's get your answers on the chat, and let me start the timer now. Okay, so the correct answer for that question is going to be option 2, that is end the conversation. So in the end of conversation, you will find two options. First one is end with survey. Second one is transfer to a agent. So you need to select the transfer to a agent from this node called end the conversation here. The next option we are having in line is talking about what do you need to set up in omnichannel for customer service to ensure that the conversations will be sent to a bot user before being routed to the live agents. Is it option A, conversation will be automatically sent to the bot user with no additional configuration? Is it option B, mark the bot user as default location to send the conversation? Is it option C, add the bot to any queue that it should handle the conversation for? Or is it option D, select the Power Virtual Agent bot that should be redirected to the bot user? So let's get your answers on the chat, and let me start the timer now. Okay, so time's up, and the correct answer for that question is going to be option C. We need to add the specific bot towards the specific queue where the conversation has to be handled off. So that is something what we are having inside this segment now. Now let's move ahead and talk about another segment in the list, talk working with this implementing the customer service, field customer services and connected customer service app. So inside this one, we're going to discuss about two options. The very first is we are going to check about the connected customer service app and also the device management options. So what is a connected customer service app? So connected customer service is going to be a kind of a add-on solutions that is provided to the respective persons who are actually wants to work with the IoT section. So accordingly, they can opt for this add-on solutions and accordingly, they can connect their IoT devices here. So what the connected customer service application will do, it will help us to connect my IoT telemetry data in the Azure to the Dynamics 365 customer service. It will enable us to provide some sort of proactive service towards my customer. Let's take a scenario here. Let's suppose I'm saying that we are working as a, I'll say a contractor where I'm creating a multiple buildings, and because I'm designing the buildings and providing them on a rent to a customer, so on their building I'm displaying some sort of IoT sections. We are setting up some IoT devices. So in their basement we have set up a IoT device that would measure the water level of their basements. If the water level will reach more than 5.6 inches, in that scenario, I wanted to generate an alert, and accordingly, I wanted to create a case in my environment. So that kind of scenario can be applicable whenever we work with this connected customer service. So what it will do is it will going to check out the basement's water level every time the same IoT device which we have planted, and whenever the IoT device has found that the water level has reached above of 5.6 inches, uh, so over there what they will do, they will going to generate a specific alert, and the alerts is going to be provided to the dynamics area, and from the dynamics area using the flow section, the alert will going to be converted into a case. And once the case has been generated, the case is going to be diverted to a respective queue towards a respective agent who is handling that specific customer from where we received this alert. So what the agent will do, agent will going to call to the customer on that same time depending upon the alert he received, so that a proactive service is going to be triggered. So over there, the my agent will going to proactively call to that customer and going to ask for that scenario, that is it your basement filled with the water, because I have received the alert accordingly. If customer is saying yes, the basement is filled with the water, what we can do is we can schedule a service with the respective service agent, and we can send the service agent to that location on a very quick note. The second thing is that if the customer is denying no, we the water level has been gone away right now. Previously it was flooded, but now it's been okay and been taken care. Now you need to close this case. So inside this conversation area, we can trigger a alert, trigger a kind of a script to the IoT device to reset the format and then to start mapping the settings again. So that's how the proactive service will going to be held. So these kind of a specific scenario can be achieved while working with this connected customer service here. Moving forward to that, if I'll talk about what different services are going to be available that will help us to connect with the IoT devices in the both way, whether it's talking about receiving the telemetry data or sending some telemetry data to the IoT device. So what is going to be the both way conversation option available? So using these two services of Azure, we can actually start working. The very first is the Azure IoT Hub. So Azure IoT Hub is going to be a platform as a service solution that will require some sort of basic knowledge of the Azure fundamental services for working with the IoT hub. Because when we are configuring the IoT hub, we need to configure some additional services like a stream analytics, like a storage account, like a specific IoT hub, like a specific logic apps to send the telemetry required telemetry data towards my Azure environment and so on, towards my Dynamics area and so on. So these are some additional services which we need to opt or we need to create for working progress in a very good note on a fully automated basis. So over there, it will require some sort of knowledge about the Azure fundamentals. Also, it will going to use my logic apps to communicate with my Dataverse. So using the logic app application, it will going to transfer my specific data towards my IoT alert table of my Dynamics so that we can generate some cases in here. Also, it is going to be a very powerful and flexible monitoring system going to give us using the Azure Monitor and also the Azure IoT Hub itself. So using these two services, we can monitor the data in a very quick node, in a very easy node. We are having some powerful tool for it. So this is the first solutions we can opt for. The second solutions which we are having in line is IoT Central. So the Azure IoT Central is going to be a software as a solution service, which will require none of the Azure experience over there. That means if you do not have any of the Azure experience, you do not have to worry about requiring that configurations and so on. You can use the Power Automate to communicate with your Dataverse. So in the Azure IoT Central, the Power Automate portal can integrated, and then we can create some flows in the Power Automate area, and using those flows we can call the data from the IoT Central and transfer it back towards my Dataverse. So we can configure some flow accordingly. But in the IoT Central, there is going to be a limitation for monitoring your alert threshold. And also in the IoT Central, we can generate some sort of visualizations and the dashboards within the central application itself. So you do not have to worry about integrating the other services to visualize the data, but over to the IoT Central, we are having the capability available. So you can generate your own reports and the dashboards over there. So these are two different services which we are having in line to work with the relative scenario. Moving forward to that, if I'll talk about the IoT devices. So what is the IoT devices we are having and how the IoT devices are going to be connected? So the customer assets record can be associated with the IoT devices record using some connections and connections role. So over there, I can decide what IoT devices has been connected with which of the customer using this connected customer assets table. The IoT device can be registered using the IoT services. Either it's your IoT hub or either it's your IoT central. The devices can be registered using them from the customer assets record. Like if you wanted to register a new device from the Dynamics area, so under the customer assets, you need to create a record in the device, and then it's going to be synchronized with your IoT hub or the IoT central, and accordingly the devices is going to be reflected over there. Same way you can utilize the IoT hub or the central app. In both ways, the devices can be configured and can be synchronized. The IoT alerts which are going to be generated by the IoT services are always going to be linked with a specific IoT device and can be seen and managed under your customer assets record. So the IoT devices can be associated with the customer's account directly using this customer assets options itself. So that is something we are having in the list here. Moving forward to that, if I'll talk about the device registration in the IoT Central app, so over there in the IoT Central, the devices are going to be connected using some device templates, using some custom device option. So if we are working with the retail industry or with the power industry or with the specific mechanical industry, so there are going to be some existing list available of the templates that can be utilized, that what kind of device you are going to connect in here. So you can use them to connect your device, or else you can create your custom app also for connecting your IoT device. So both ways can be applicable. We can also utilize the connected customer service. So the connected customer service will always going to verify the device using the device ID in the Azure IoT hub and the Dataverse scenario. You can use the Power Automate Cloud Flow template for getting the data to be captured using this IoT Central app and to be transferred towards the Dynamics area. So this is how the specific registration option can be completed using the IoT devices centrals and so on. Whenever we are saying that we wanted to create some sort of flow on our side, so how the flows are going to be created? So while creating the flow, you need to go for generating the alerts, and you need to select one of the connector from the Microsoft flow directly using this option called when a rule is fired. So this is a specific connector which we need to operate under my Power Platform environment as a trigger basis, and accordingly we can transfer the alert towards my environment after filtering it based on my thresholds and so on. So that is how the specific flow can be created. Moving forward to that, once we got the alert generated and transferred in my Dynamics area, so based on the specific alert, we can open this quick create form to create a case on a manual note, and we can start creating the cases on a manually. Other than that, you can also go for opting this service to create a case using some flow basis as well. Like if you wanted to generate a flow and wants to connect a flow accordingly and want to create the cases, so you can register a flow in the backend. So every time an alert will come in the table called IoT alerts, a new case is going to be triggered or going to be created. And based on that alert we have received, the details is going to be filled out from that area. So we can create the flow for that also. So this is something what we are having under this category called connected customer field service. So if you guys are having any kind of issues and questions, you can put up your questions in the chat. And let's move ahead and talk about some Q&A session from this area also. So we are having the first question in the line talking about, if you don't have any experience with the Azure, which component should you use to connect the IoT devices to the connected service? Is it your IoT alert? Is it your case? Is it your customer assets? Is it your command definition? So let's get your answers on the chat and let me start the timer now. Okay, so time's up and thanks for answering the question. So the correct answer for that question is going to be the IoT alert, that using the specific IoT alert, we can utilize it to connect my IoT devices in the list. Again, the question is going to be appear the same. Would, if you do not have any of the experience with the Azure, which component you can utilize to connect your IoT devices in itself? So there are some tools available now. This time, the first tool is Azure IoT Hub. Are you going to use this one? If you do not have the Azure experience, are you going to use the Azure Logic app to connect your IoT devices? Are you going to use the Azure IoT Central to connect your devices, or Azure Stream Analytics to connect your devices? So let's get your answers on the chat and let me start the timer now. Okay, so the time's up, and the correct answer for that question is going to be the option C, Azure IoT Central, because the IoT Central will not require any kind of prior Azure experience to work with the IoT devices here. Now, the next question we are having in the list is talking about, if you decided to use the connected customer service for IoT Central, which item should you create first? Is it your Power Automate Cloud Flow? Is it your command definition? Is it your customer asset? Or you need to create the IoT Central app first? So let's get your answers on the chat and let me start the timer now. Okay, so thank you guys for answering the question here. Time's up now. So the correct answer for that question is going to be the IoT Central app. First of all, we need to configure the IoT Central app. Then we need to configure the command as customer assets. Then we need to trigger the command definitions and we can go for creating the cloud flow in itself. So this is how the flow is going to be work. Now we are having another segment in the list is talking about implementing the routing scenario. So under this segment, we're going to talk about two things. First of all is configuring the routing. The second one is creating and managing the queues. So let's get move ahead and talk about this section now. So in this area, it's talking about like we are going to have two different types of routings that can be created on our own. The very first is talking about the basic routing. The second one is a unified routing. So the basic routing will going to help me to create a kind of a automation rule where the records can be diverted towards the respective created queue which we are having in the dynamics area. So over there, we can decide each and everything on our own. We need to define a full rule that if a case type is this or the case customer segment is this, then I wanted to divert the case to this queue. So that's how the basic routing will going to be work, where we need to provide each and everything from starting to end as on rule basis. So over there, the basic routing will going to be applicable. The unified routing is going to be applicable when we are configuring the omni-channel. And from the omni-channel, if a new call or chat or message is coming, so how that thing is going to be diverted to the respective queue where my agent is available to answer them. This kind of queue is going to be available, and over there we need to configure some unified routing for it, where the things are going to be used, work with some basic tools in here. So whenever we are talking about the basic routing, so how the basic routing is going to be applicable. So let's get a scenario here. Let's talk about that we are having a scenario in my company. I'm having the three types of segments of the customer. First one is a gold customer. Second one is a silver customer. Third one is a bronze customer. And according to those customers, we are having the different queue available. Like for the gold customer cases, it needs to be diverted to the gold queue only. For silver customer cases, it needs to be diverted to the silver queue only. For the bronze customers, we need to divert the case to the bronze queue only. And apart from them, if we are getting a new call or new message or new records from something on a new case to be created from anywhere else, we need to divert it to a fourth queue which we are having in the list. So we can go for creating some basic routing in that scenario. In the basic routing, what we need to do is we need to go for creating a rule first. Under the rule, we need to define if my customer segment is gold, because we are having a different team available for these different queues and the different segments of customer. So in that scenario, I'm saying that if my customer segment is gold, then the case needs to divert towards a queue called gold queue. So this is how the rule can be created. Same way, we can say that if the customer segment is silver, I need to divert the case towards the queue towards silver one. Same way, if the customer segment is bronze, need to divert the case towards the queue towards bronze queue. So this is how the routing thing will going to be work. So every time we will receive a new case, so it is going to verify what is my customer segment. After verifying it, it will going to verify my routing rules which I have configured. So over there, it is going to check that my customer segment is gold. So according to the rule, where case need to be diverted. So because it's a gold customer, case need to be diverted to the gold queue. Same way, if it's a silver customer, case need to be diverted to the silver queue. Same way, if it's a bronze customer, case need to be diverted to the bronze queue. So this is how your routings will going to be work. Talking about the unified routing, so how the unified routing is going to be work actually. So whenever we were talking about the unified routing, so unlike the basic routing where you are typically defining and working with the records like cases and emails, so on, the unified routing infrastructure can use to route the service request across all the channels your organization uses, like a chat, voice, SMS, and much more. So this going to create a unified view of the workflow, that accordingly which channel we are getting the call, and based on which specific queue the specific call needs to be diverted. So whenever a customer will going to call us or going to message us or going to email us, every time my environment is going to have a look that customer is using which channel. So I would say that in this case the customer is using the SMS channel. So because customer is using the SMS channel, we have created some sort of omni-channel in our environment where I'm having the multiple work streams. In the work streams, I have defined some work classification. I have defined some specific rule segments, that how the which kind of cases need to be diverted to which queue. And over there, we are having the multiple queues associated. So I would say using the chat segment, I'm having a work stream. So the call is going to be diverted to this work stream first. Under this work stream, it is going to verify what kind of work it is. Is it an informational thing? Is it a problem query? Is it a request query? Is it a service scheduling query or not? So accordingly, it is going to check out the purpose of that call. So whatever the rule sets I have defined, according to that rule set, or whether I have defined it manually or using the machine learning program, both options are available. So it is going to verify the things accordingly about the work order, that which kind of work it is. And when the work classification will going to be completed, then it is going to route the specific call to the respective queue rule sets on which queue I have defined. Let's suppose in the first work order, I have defined to divert it to the Q1. In the second one, I have divided to the Q2. In the third one, I have divided to the Q3. And now based on the work classification filter, I found that the call which I'm getting from the customer is relatively from rule set 3. It's going to verify the condition of the rule set 3. So because it is verifying the condition of rule set 3, I need to divert it towards my Q3 area. So once the work classification has been completed, it's going to divert to the respective queue. And once we get the call on the respective queue, so over there we are going to check the assignment method. So in the assignment method, there could be two ways. The very first is prioritization of the call or the assignment rule sets. So over there, I can define that whether I wanted to check my available agent and then push the call to that specific agent directly, or I wanted to allow that agent to be picked the case to be picked from the list itself. I just need to transfer it to the queue only. So both cases are going to be available. Also, if we are referencing that if a call is coming from a specific customer called customer A, and because I know that the customer A's call need to be diverted to one on only agent called Abraham, so the call is going to be diverted to the Abraham only, whatever the skills they are having. So accordingly, it is going to verify about the priority of the call, about the customer preferences and the assignment rule sets. And based on that, whatever agent is going to be free, that agent will going to take that call. So this is how your unified routing is going to be applicable in the real-time scenario while working with the omni-channel services. Over there, if I'm talking about the basic routing rule sets, so under this area of work stream, you can define some routing rule sets. In the routing rule sets, you can define which kind of call needs to be diverted to which queue, what is going to be your rule sets. So you can have a routing rule sets created. Over to the rule sets, you can configure one or more rule. The criteria is going to be specify the condition. Then you need to specify to which queue it's going to be diverted, and one active basic routing can be configured at only one time. Talking about the unified routing cases, so in the unified scenario, it will going to be enable me a service. So in my services, I need to enable one of the service called turn on unified routing from the settings area. Once I'm going to enable it, it will going to ask me to provide the consent and turn on. We are going to provide the consent also. Then we are going to wait for unified routing to be deployed on a default node, and then we can select what is going to be my automatic work distribution mode. Is it my push mode or the pick mode, or towards my existing queue it's going to be diverted, or towards my custom queue it's going to be diverted. Then after talking about configuring the users, so whenever we are configuring the queue, inside the queue, we can always go and define the capacity also. So while adding the user, let's say that in the Q1 or maybe in the gold queue, I am saying I'm going to define 10 users from my list who is going to attend the call from this gold queue only for these gold customers. So over there, which of my user can attend how much of call. So we can configure their capacity. I would say my each user can attend the 5 calls at the same time. So this is going to be the first kind of capacity we can configure. The second capacity I can configure is if my all users are full, depending upon their availability, like all users can actually get 5 calls at a time, and each and every user is having their 5 calls in running currently. Now, after having a full capacity of my all users, how many calls we can store in the queue on a waiting list? So we can also decide that capacity. We can define, do I want it to wait for 25 calls in the waiting, 30 calls in the waiting, and so on. So I can define that capacity also in the users area. We can also go for configuring the users as a bookable resource. So over there, I can decide that if we are having some existing users like my field service engineers and so on, and I want them to allow to work with the bookable resources where they can configure themselves as a resources also while configuring the service activity. So we can also go and create a record in the bookable resource table itself. Moving forward to that, once we are configuring the queue, over there we can design the assignment method. So the assignment method could be anyone. Either it could be your push and pick method. If we are selecting the push method, that means the case need to be diverted on a default node, or maybe on a we can say using some algorithms to divert the case to the respective person. So over there, it's going to utilize the default, going to utilize the algorithm of the round robin. So using the round robin algorithm, it is going to divert my case over there. Same way, we can also set the operational hour for this respective queue. If I'll say that this queue is only going to be work for 9 a.m. till 6 p.m., I can decide the operational hour. If I'll say it's going to work 24 into 7, I can decide the same thing accordingly. So this is how the operational hour things can be also configured here. Moving forward to that, if I'll talk about what default queues are going to be available with us. So there are going to be some custom default queues going to be available with us. The very first is a default entity queue, the default messaging queue, and the default voice queue. So these three types of queues are going to be available. Default entity queue is going to be utilized for routing the entity records. Messaging queue will going to help me to route my live chat, SMS, and Microsoft Teams chats of messages to the respective queue, and the voice queue will going to help me to divert my voice calls to the respective queue. Moving forward to that, if I'll talk about the work stream, so work stream will going to help me to contain, it's going to be known as a kind of a logical container, which will help me to contain all my enriched route, assign work items on a correct way, on a area at a same place, that on which queue, which of the users call need to be diverted, how the agent will going to pick up the call, are going to be pushed by them, what is going to be the rule set, and everything. So inside the work stream, we can actually go for creating those things, and accordingly, we can contain all of them together at a single place. Also, we can configure the different types of work streams like messaging work streams, record, and voice. So the messaging one will going to help me to route the conversations for live chat, text, social channels, and Microsoft Teams channel. Record will going to help me to route the records like case, email, or activity. Voice is going to help me to route the calls made to the support numbers. Talking about the distribution thing, so inside the work stream, we're going to have two different ways to distribute the calls to the agent. The very first is the push, and the second one is the pick. Pick means the agent will going to have a full availability available. They can pick up the case from the respective queue, whatever the cases are available in it. push method is going to help us in that scenario when I want my user to get the new call associated with their account as like they have completed their previous one. So over there, we can associate the push method also. We can also define some capacity here, that how many incoming calls can be received in the single queue. We can also go for blocking the capacity for wrap-ups, that how much time agent needs to spend at the call before wrapping up the call itself. We can also allow the presence here, like define which agent precise state an agent can be changed in still and have the conversation routed to the respective person and so on. We can also go for using some default skill matching algorithms here to divert my call to the respective persons accordingly. Moving forward to that, if I'll talk about the intake rules. So inside the work stream, we can create some sort of existing rules, which will help me to determine which work stream needs to be selected for incoming work item. So we need to define the rule name, we need to define the condition, and we need to define the map section. So we need to create a rule section first, and accordingly, the calls will going to be diverted to the respective work streams, whatever we are having in the list. We can also go ahead and define some conditions here where we can classify some sort of basic information about which kind of records need to be diverted towards which area and how the things are going to be diverted using some and or conditions and so on. So these things we can specify. We can also specify the multiple rule sets for dividing my work classification over. We can have a single work classification option to be available, or maybe the multiple ways to classify my workloads depending upon the different needs of the customers and so on. So that's all the things we are having in this area. We can also go for routing the items towards the queue. We can create some rule sets for routing the items towards the queue itself. And here the rule sets can be created, and we need to define a condition, and then we need to select to which specific queue the call needs to be diverted. So that is something once we are having a kind of option here working with this queue sections and routing area. So that is something we are having in the list. Now, relatively for this segment, we are going to have some Q&A session available. So let's start working with the question and answer section now. So the first question we are having from this segment is talking about which of the following scenario best describe the use of a private queue. Is it option A support queue of all new cases are routed to before they are routed to other queues? Is it option B, a gold queue that will be supported by the gold technician? Option C, a queue that was automatically created when a new user was added? Or is it option D, a standard queue where all the cases can be worked by any technician? So let's get your answers on the chat and let me start the timer now. Okay, so the correct answer for that question is going to be the option B, where a gold queue that will be supported by the gold technician is going to be known as a kind of a private queue, where only the specific person can access the cases from that list. The next question we are having in line is talking about if you decide to use the connected customer service for IoT Central, what item should you create first? Option 1, the queue item will be removed from the user personal queue and all other queues. Option B, the queue item will be removed from user personal queue and returned to its original queue. Option C, the queue item will be removed from all users. Or is it option D, the queue item will be removed from its original queue it was taken from? So let's get your answers on the chat, and let me start a timer now. Okay, sorry. So the question is wrong here. In this question, it's asking about if a specific agent is going to pick up a kind of a case from a list, and then they are going to release the case. So what will going to be happen? So let's get your answers accordingly now. Okay, so the correct answer for that question is going to be the option B, talking about the queue item will going to be removed from the user personal queue and going to return back to its original queue where it was situated earlier. Moving forward to that, we are having another question in the line talking about in which of the following scenario would a routing rule be applied? Is it option A, automatically when a case is created manually by an agent? Option B, when an agent elects the save button? Option C, when an agent select the add to queue button? Or is it option D, automatically when a case is created by a record creation rule? So let's get your answers on the chat and let me start the timer now. Okay, guys. So time's up now. So thanks for answering the question. So the correct answer for that question is going to be the option D. It will going to be automatically when a case is created using the record creation rule. So this is something what we are having in this session here, talking about MB-230. So we discuss about some important topics that needs to be covered before going towards the examination area. Now let's have a look about what kind of questions are going to be available in the exam. So here are some options available. What kind of questions are going to be available? The very first is we need to select the best answer, just like the thing we are doing in the session as well. Same way you will get the question, you will get some answers. You need to select the best answer that needs to be correct one. Then you need to select the build list option where you need to go for selecting the list. Right away in the left hand side it will going to give you the steps, and the right hand side you need to just arrange them steps in the correct order. So that's how you need to build a list of the steps that needs to be followed on a ascending order. Then after it's going to give you the case study. Based on the case study, it's will going to give you the answer questions, and accordingly you need to answer it. The next one is going to be a drag and drop where it is going to give you some options as well as some blank fields. You need to drag and drop the correct answer at the correct area. Also, it will going to give you the multiple choice questions where you can go for selecting the multiple options that are selected based on the question itself. And also maybe sometime you can receive some labs also to be completed at the examination to achieve that goal. So these kind of questions can be opted in the exam. If I'm talking about the multiple choice, so this is an example how the multiple choice options is going to be available. If I'm talking about the case study, so in the case study, they will going to give you the information about the background of the company, about their existing environment, about their business requirement, about their technical requirement, about their problem statement. And accordingly, in the problem statement, it will going to give you the questions. You need to read out the questions and answer it accordingly. The build list option is going to be available just like this way. They're going to give you the steps only, and you need to arrange what steps need to be diverted to which area, and that's how the list needs to be created. The next thing we are having about the drag and drop. So that's how they are going to give you some options on the left, and the right hand side they are going to ask you to drag and drop the correct answer at the correct place. So that's how the things we are having in the list. Talking about some exam requirement, so start by ensuring that your computer will use to track the exam meets the system requirements. So every time before going to the exam, you need to make sure that your system has the full capability available. So before going towards the examination, I guess after before 45 minutes or 50 minutes, you need to go for a test requirement of your system, whether it is meeting your all the requirements for attending the exam or not. If you are unable to take a clear photo of your identification, you need to make sure that you are having a kind of a additional camera associated with your environment so that you can get the clearer picture while working with the exam. You need to review the testing session protocol to know what to expect during the examinations. What are the system requirements the Microsoft is wanting? So Microsoft is saying that if you're working with the Windows, you need to have the platform available of 8.1 or later on. If you're working with the Mac, you need to have a version of 10.13 and above. If you do not take your examinations with behind your corporate firewall area, always go and work with the public internet to exam. Also, the minimum resolution which is required for examination is 1368 into 769 or higher. The newest version of Microsoft, whatever browser you guys are using, you need to have a latest version of that browser. You need to have at least 1 Mbps of a speed of your internet browser at the same time. You need to have a kind of a minimum resolutions of your webcam associated as 10 pixels and so on. So this is the system requirements. You need to verify the audio and microphone are working fine, and do not set up your microphone or audio on a mute mode. You need to disable the pop-up cookies itself, so that in the between the examinations you will not get any kind of pop-ups or any kind of disturbance and so on. Ensure that you are connecting towards a power source which can give you the power backup of at least of 2.5 hours, so that your exam can be completed within that time. If possible, then you have to stop your antivirus also till the time you're working with the exam. So these are some basic requirements which is going to be available. Talking about some exam policies, so over there specific Microsoft will going to identify yourself by using your identity verification. That means you need to upload your identity, it's page like your passports, your Aadhaar card, and so on, whatever your national identity is. You need to upload the clear picture of it. You need to have your identity document with yourself. You need to scan your whole exam area in which room you are giving for examination. Do not use any kind of personal belongings to be associated with yourself with the time of the examination. Do not utilize any kind of eating items in your exam sections. There's no going to be not any kind of assistant going to be appear and going to be present. Also, the session is going to be recorded during the examination, so always be make sure that you have a clear vision on your side. So these are some exam policies we are having. So that is all about the thing we are having in the list of this MB-230 exam prep sessions. Same way, if you guys wanted to register yourself for some upcoming exam prep sessions, you can visit up our websites using this gtechlearn.com/webinars or .axpx, and from that area you can register your webinars over there. Other than that, you can also go and register yourself using this QR code as well. So over to this QR code area, you can scan this on your Google scanner, and then you can start visiting our webinars page. Let me give you some additional information about the exam prep session. So whenever we are talking about for registering yourself with some upcoming webinar, and to have a list what kind of webinars the GTechLearn is hosting right away on a free note for getting your information. So where you can go, you can actually visit our websites here called gtechlearn.com/webinars.aspx. So this is our website where you can visit, and in the websites you can go for checking up some details, whatever the webinars we have already listed in the list. It's like we are having a ST200 webinar on 23rd of November, ST300 on the same day, AZ104 on 25th November, AZ305 on 30th of November, 210 on 30th of November, and same way some virtual training day of AZ900, SC900, MS900, PL900, CRM, and so on. So that's how you can go for visiting those webinars on a free note. You can register yourself from here by using this register button. Apart from them, the GTechLearn is also providing you some sort of self-paced courses over to which you will get some self-paced package courses to be available on your side for first 15 days or for free. So over there, if I'm going towards my learning solution page, so here you will find one area. Let me go to the GTechLearn.com, the home website. Over to this, you will find this area available called self-paced courses. So you can visit to this website, and over there, the GTechLearn has created some sort of packages depending upon the different technologies, and each and every technology there is going to be some self-paced videos are going to be available, using which you can actually learn on a different technologies, on a different courses over there. So you can click on this area and you can see what kind of different packages we are having. If you wanted to opt for any of the packages like ERP learning, Power Platform, Azure learning package, and so on, so you can just click on that package. And after clicking on that package, you can see what courses are associated with them and how the things are going to be work. So you can visit these websites and accordingly you can register yourselves for them. So this is how the specific thing is going to be available. You can opt for these courses, and first 15 days is going to be free. So you can pay with your card, and after 15 days, it's going to ask you whether you wanted to continue your access or not. If you wanted to continue, you need to just pay the amount accordingly, and you can subscribe it using only $20 in here. So that is something we are having it from the GTechLearn. Apart from that, if I'll talk about the exam prep sessions, so the Microsoft is providing you the environment where you can go for checking yourself environment at how the your sandbox is going to be look like. From this list, from this link called learn.microsoft.com of MB-230, you will find your specific documents available. You can visit here and start learning the things using these documents. You can open this specific document, and after opening this document, you can see other different topics that are covered in this, and you can start learning yourself. That is going to be a self-paced course, that how you are going to start learning based on the respective course you wanted to cover. Also, they will going to give you a study guide based on which you will find what topics that needs to be covered before going towards the examination and so on, and how to start working with them, what options need to be discussed and need to be remember on our side. You will also found this exam sandbox area, which you can, which the Microsoft will going to give you the experience how your exam sandbox will going to be look like and so on. So that is something what we are having in this session here, talking about MB-230 exam prep session. I hope you guys enjoyed this session here, and thanks guys for joining this session right away. We're going to close this session now. If you guys are having any kind of queries, so you can put up your queries in the chat box. Thank you.